Chapter 1097. At the end of the tunnel was not an insect nest, but the entrance to an entire great secret realm. There were many insect nests in the great secret realm. Insects stood in great numbers. It was a shocking sight. If news of this got out, it would definitely cause a huge impact on the cultivation world of the entire 9 provinces. However, the information revealed by these images was not entirely a bad thing. This was because the 9 prefectures had always been preset on what they should do if they could find the worm's nest. At least, there would not be too much space below, so they could not mobilize too many people. When the time came, they could only send the strongest divine sea realm cultivators. They would work together to destroy the insect nest. However, if it was an insect great secret realm, there would be no such concerns. From the images, the insect race's great secret realm was extremely vast. As long as they could set up a defense line, as soon as they charged in, they could send in reinforcements endlessly. Using the 9 provinces to their advantage of numbers, they could use the human wave tactic. The sect master immediately thought of many things. He asked a key question in a hurry. Does the insect race's great secret realm have origin magnetism? Field. No. Lu Yi shook his head. According to what I know, the insect race's great secret realm is a miniature world. It's deep underground. All right, the sect master's eyes shone. This news could not be any better. His mind raced, and he thought of another question. There are a total of 9 gates in the great secret realm. Can you check them out? Where do these gates lead to? Lu Yi said. I was just reporting. Disciple was just about to report this matter. Disciple has entered and exited each of these 9 doors at least once. I've taken a look at the locations of the 9 great gates. In other words, if you start from the Thunder Province, you'll definitely reach the gate that connects to the Thunder Province. If you head deeper into a crack in the ground, you'll reach the gate that connects to the Mist Province. Such a coincidence? The sect master was stunned. Lu Yi said meaningfully. I also find it very coincidental. The sect master's eyes flickered. He understood. There were some things that did not need to be said too clearly. It was fine as long as everyone understood. Oh right, sect master. I've discovered that the insect blood seems to be able to block the corrosion of origin magnetism to a certain extent. The sect master nodded. We've noticed this a very long time ago. Over the past few years, so many divine sea realm cultivators from the 2 great factions had investigated the cracks in the ground. Although he didn't notice it, it wasn't easy to make use of it. The insectoid blood could block the magnetic field to a certain extent, but the effect was limited and could not be completely blocked. It couldn't play a decisive role. Now, no matter if it's our Haotian Alliance or the Myriad Demon Ridge, we're all trying to get help from this aspect. The insectoid's blood had created something that could completely block the magnetic field. But unfortunately, the results were minimal. Would the Myriad Demon's Ridge be hiding something? Lu Yi asked. The sect leader couldn't help but laugh. In this situation, what good is there for them to hide? It's not like they can deal with the infestation by themselves. Because if such a thing was really developed, both factions would definitely send out people to defend against the enemy. So there was no need to worry. If they can really develop it, they will definitely share it with us. Haotian Alliance will do the same. Yes. Lu Yi thought about it and agreed. The insect plague was a problem of the entire 9 prefectures, not a problem of a certain faction. At the last moment, everyone had to do their best. No one should even think about watching the show. Not only would they not hide anything, but they would also inform each other immediately if there was any major discovery. Yi, I'm going to take away this great merit of yours. The sect leader held the few shadow stones with a serious expression. Do you understand? Lu Yi nodded. I understand. In the past few years, so many old guys had worked hard, but couldn't find any valuable information. But Lu Yi sighed. He even took out the image of the insectoid race's secret realm. If this spread out, how could those old guys endure it? It would push Lu Yi to the heart of the storm. As the saying went, the tallest tree in the forest would be destroyed by the wind. Lu Yi had caused a big commotion in the Spirit Stream realm and Cloud River realm, and was seen as a thorn in the side of the Myriad Demon Ridge's top sections. Now that he had been quiet for a few years, it was naturally not good for him to be in the limelight again. Especially when this limelight was related to the future of the entire 9 prefectures. The sect leader didn't want to steal the credit. He was just using this method to protect Lu Yi. Just like when Lu Yi was able to refine the twin qi connecting array disk, Pang Zhen issued a gag order at the conference. He was a top divine sea realm cultivator, who had been in charge of exploring the depths of the earth fissure for a long time. Now that he had revealed this, although it would be surprising, it wasn't unexpected. Of course, Lu Yi could understand the sect leader's intention. I need to gather the elders for a meeting. Go back to the pass first. Don't run around for a while. Yes. A moment later, Lu Yi left Grand Sky City and headed in the direction of the Shocking Waves Lake Pass. A day later, many figures gathered in the Peace Light Hall. It had only been half a year since the last conference. Logically speaking, they shouldn't have gathered again so soon. Even it wasn't time for the small conference yet. However, after everyone received the message, they still hurried to Grand Sky City to gather. Everyone knew that something big must have happened. Something big must have happened. Otherwise, they wouldn't have gathered everyone at this time. As usual, Pang Zhen was the host. He sat at the head of the table. On both sides of the oval table, the upper echelons of the entire Grand Sky Alliance of the military province sat down. Everyone sat. This time, it could be said that the upper echelons had gathered the most. Everyone looked at Pang Zhen. He was the one who gathered everyone. Of course, only he knew what had happened. Pang Zhen didn't waste any time. He just waved his hand. Streams of light shot toward everyone. They were shadow recording stones. This time, I gathered all of you for a meeting, because Elder Tang made some special discoveries. Please take a look first. Everyone raised their hands and grabbed the shadow recording stones in front of them. They immersed themselves in it and activated their divine consciousness to investigate. In an instant, the atmosphere in the Peace Light Hall became chaotic. Just like how the sect leader was shocked when he saw the images in the shadow recording stones. Everyone present was the same. Although they didn't know what the place in the images was. But anyone could guess that it was the source of the insect disaster. Suppressing the shock in their hearts, they continued to investigate. A moment later, people finished their investigations one after another. Their eyes were solemn, but no one asked anything, because everyone knew that Pang Zhen would give an explanation. After everyone finished their investigations, Pang Zhen said, "Since the outbreak of the insect disaster, many divine sea realm cultivators from both sides have been working hard on the deep sea realm. Unfortunately, there hasn't been much progress in the past few years. Elder Tang's influence this time is very great. It's precious enough to clear a lot of our doubts. The information we had before was that we could find the insect path by going deep into the earth. We speculated that the end of the insect path was the insect, where the insect nest was. But now, it seems that this speculation was wrong. The end of the insect path wasn't the insect nest, but the door that led to this place. The door to the insect race's great secret realm. There are countless fissures in the 9 prefectures now. But no matter which fissures you go deep into, you will eventually reach a door. There are 9 such doors in the entire 9 prefectures. I think everyone has seen clearly that the doors in the insect race's great secret realm are 9. They correspond to the 9 prefectures of the 9 prefectures. The bad news is that the situation at the source of the insect disaster is even worse than we thought. This is a great secret realm of the insect race. The scale of the insect race's great secret realm is not small. There are countless insects, and there are even giant insects that are stronger than giant insects. I'm sure everyone can feel that it is not something that a single cultivator can fight against. To be honest, I have cultivated for so many years. I have seen such insects before. The good news is that these giant insects are too big, so it is difficult for them to crawl out of the insect path and cause trouble in the 9 prefectures. This is also the reason why we have not noticed their existence. There is another piece of good news. The insect race's great secret realm does not have a magnetic field. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone was moved. An elder said, "Doesn't this mean that as long as we can enter the insect race's great secret realm, we won't be suppressed. The key is how to enter the insect race's great secret realm. Since Elder Tang has already been there must be a way. The group of people looked at the sect leader eagerly. The sect leader shook his head and said, "Only Elder Tang can enter the insect race's great secret realm. I can use it myself, but others can't. There is no way to popularize it." Everyone couldn't help but look disappointed. No one felt that the sect leader was lying about this matter. After all, solving the insect disaster was the 9 prefectures' wish. Moreover, the sect leader's character was here. If it could be popularized, he would definitely not hide it. Can we ask Elder Tang to set up a teleportation array in front of the door? If we can do that, we can teleport directly. Let's pass, someone suggested. Pang Jun said, Elder Tang and I have thought of this method before. However, Elder Tang is not proficient in array formations and can't set up a teleportation array. Secondly, even if we can use a ready-made array base and array disk, it will be difficult for Elder Tang to set up an array formation alone. At the same time, he will need to maintain the operation of the array formation. Moreover, the distance is too far, and there is the suppression of the magnetic field. Even if we set up an array formation, there is a high probability that it won't work. He gently knocked on the table. Therefore, the most important problem to solve now is how to block the magnetic field. Only by solving this problem can we talk about the future. This was very uncomfortable. In the past, they didn't know the situation of the insect race's great secret realm. Now that they knew, they understood. They understood the enemy's situation. But there was no way to rush over to carry out an effective attack. Pang Jun looked at Qiao Yi. Department Head Qiao, the Quartermaster Department needs to speed up. The insect disaster has been going on for nearly 3 years. We cultivators are fine, but most mortals can't farm. It's not a long-term solution to rely on surplus food to survive. If this situation doesn't change, in a few years, I'm afraid that 9 out of 10 rooms in the 9 prefectures will be empty. Mortals were the foundation of the cultivation world. If the number of mortals was too small, the cultivation world would also be shaken. This was also the case in the 9 prefectures. Within the 9 prefectures, cultivators were not allowed to affect mortals. A large number of medical cultivators and alchemists had gathered at the Quartermaster Department. They were studying the insect blood's blocking effect on the magnetic field. Unfortunately, there was not much progress to be made. Chapter 1098. Qiao Yi said with a bitter face, I'll do my best. In fact, not only did the Haotian Alliance of the military province gather many medical cultivators and alchemists to study the isolation effect of the insect blood on the magnetic field, but the other provinces also did the same. Moreover, they did not hide the results of their research. Once they discovered something, they would share it. However, there was no substantial progress so far. This made him sigh helplessly. It was true that he was the head of the Quartermaster Division, and it wasn't a problem for him to ensure the supply of supplies. However, this wasn't what he did for a living. Forcing a duck onto a perch at the last moment was somewhat difficult for him. Before, he didn't even know the situation in the deepest part of the insect path. Now that he had obtained a lot of information about the insect race's secret realm, he only needed to solve the problem of the magnetic field erosion. Then, the 9 continents would be able to mobilize their army. He could only hope that the people under the demon path would be more successful. After Pang Jun finished his instructions, he knocked on the table lightly. According to the usual practice, we have such a big discovery. Shouldn't we share the information with the demon rich? What do you think? This time no one objected. Although such information was precious and rare, this was not the time to hide it. Everyone was aware of this, and unanimously agreed to pass the information to the Myriad Devil Ridge. They believed that the Myriad Devil Ridge would not think that they were deceiving them. The images in the image recording stone couldn't be faked. They believed that the Demon Ridge would understand the seriousness of the situation and the most urgent problem to solve. Soon the plan was set. Someone would copy the images in the image recording stone and bring it to the Demon Ridge. A great meeting started in a hurry and ended very quickly. Most of the discussions between cultivators were like this. They couldn't keep arguing about certain things. especially when they were short on manpower. Efficiency was the most important thing. When the hierarch walked out of the Light Harmony Hall, Qian Wudong was waiting for him. The hierarch looked over. Department Leader Qian, what's the matter? Qian Wudong laughed. Nothing. I just have some questions to ask Elder Tang. About the insect race's secret realm. Some things in the images weren't clear. Go ahead. Qian Wudong asked a few questions, and the hierarch answered them one by one. He sighed. Department Leader Qian, if you have something to say, just say it. There's no need to beat around the bush in front of me. He could tell that Gan Wudong's question was fake. He obviously had other intentions. Qian Wudong chuckled and looked around to make sure no one was around. Then he sent a message to Qian Wudong. Did Wuxia come to Haotian City yesterday? I've been here before. The headmaster's expression remained the same, but he sighed inwardly. As expected of the head of the law department, his intuition was very sharp. Of course, this also had to do with the fact that he was Lu Ye's immediate superior. If it were anyone else, they wouldn't have deliberately followed Lu Ye's movements. This brat has no respect for his superiors. Gan Wudong was a bit annoyed. No matter what, I'm still his superior in name. Since he's in Haotian City, why didn't he come to greet me? However, Elder Tang, you have been exploring the Earth Fissure for several years without finding anything. Wuxia, on the other hand, only came to Vast Sky City, and you made such a big discovery. It's hard to guarantee that people won't make the connection. If we inquire a little more, we should be able to find out that he went deep into the Earth Fissure a month ago, and only returned yesterday. The headmaster said indifferently. So what if people make the connection? He can do things that ordinary people can't. He has reached the Spirit Sea realm at such a young age. What's more amazing is that even at this level, he can still easily kill enemies above his level. Elder Tang, the Blue Blood sect has taken in a good disciple. However, there are some things that we have to take precautions against. For example, some people who are old and lonely, disheartened and full of hatred may take risks out of desperation. The headmaster's eyes flashed. Then what should we do, Head Qian? Qian Wudong chuckled. How would I know? Elder Tang, you're asking me a difficult question. The law department's style for so many years is to deal with things after the fact. We pay attention to solid evidence, so that people can't say anything. Therefore, I can't help you with this kind of thing. Qian Wudong sighed. Elder Tang, I'm not exaggerating. It's just that when people get old, they have no one to rely on and no hope. It's easy for them to go to extremes and do anything. This is what people call unreasonable. The headmaster thought of his state of mind back then and agreed. You're right. Back then he was quite disheartened. Of course, it wasn't as serious as Qian Wudong described. After all, there was a girl who accompanied him and fulfilled her filial piety. However, if the girl was gone, would he still be the same? He couldn't be sure and didn't dare to think about it. I didn't know that you're so young, but you have a good grasp of the state of mind of old people like us. Qian Wudong laughed. In front of Elder Tang, I'm not that old. However, if I were still immortal, I would be playing with my grandchildren by now. After chatting for a while, Qian Wudong left. The headmaster stood there and thought for a while. Then he raised his hand and sent a message. At the Tianji Palace, the transmission array lit up. Lu Yi had returned. Yesterday he left Haotian City and went back to the fissure. There was no need to stay there for long. Now that his avatar was guarding the fissure, he could take care of the cultivators on both sides. Also, the transmission array was connected. If there was any danger, his original body and Lin Yu could help at any time. The mountain pass wasn't as crowded as before. The main reason was that there were very few people guarding it. There were only about 50 of them. Even these 50 people took turns to guard it. Now, everyone knew that guarding the mountain pass was a leisurely job. They could only earn merit points at the fissure. Naturally, they all wanted to stay there. However, the mountain pass still needed people to guard it. Therefore, they had to take turns. After walking out of the Tianji Palace, Yu Huang came up to him. It was his turn to guard the mountain pass for the next half-month. Lord. Yu Huang bowed. Yes. Lu Yi responded. Then he asked as usual. Is everything okay at the mountain pass? It's fine. Yu Huang replied. Ever since Lu Yi focused on guarding the fissure, it was rare to see any insectoids within 500 miles of the mountain pass, let alone the mountain pass. Now this defensive pattern had been copied by the other mountain passes at the front lines of the military province. It formed a small-scale cooperation between the two factions. It was also spreading to the other 8 continents. It wouldn't be long before all the mountain passes at the front lines would do the same. However, this couldn't be done inside the continents. Many of the fissures were unguarded. After giving Yu Huang a few words of encouragement, Lu Yi headed back to his sleeping quarters. Exploring the fissure took him more than a month. It had delayed his cultivation progress. However, compared to the gains, this sacrifice was worth it. At the very least, he understood the situation inside the insectoid Great Mystic Realm. Standing at the door, Lu Yi didn't rush to open it. Instead, he looked at something on the door. There was a storage pouch placed on the door knocker. That was strange. He looked around and didn't see anyone. He used his divine telekinesis and found that it was just an ordinary storage pouch. There was nothing special about it. Lu Yi took it and pushed the door open. Yi and Hu Po were cultivating diligently. Lu Yi had left many golden spirit sticks for her, enough for her to use for a long time. Although there was a rule that everything in the War Merit Pavilion could only be used by oneself. Yi was Hu Po's despondent spirit, and Hu Po was Lu Ye's natal Yao beast. Therefore, Yi could also use the things that Lu Yi brought out from the War Merit Pavilion. Hearing the noise, Yi opened her eyes and happily said, "Lu Yi, you're back?" Lu Yi nodded and asked, "Did you notice anyone loitering outside the door recently?" Yi shook her head. "No. Why?" "Nothing. If someone had left a storage pouch for him, it wouldn't have been discovered." In order to conserve the energy of the defensive formation at the mountain pass, the formation wasn't activated all the time. In addition, there was a shortage of manpower. Anyone with some tricks could sneak in. However, judging from the current situation, the intruder didn't seem to have any ill intentions. Of course, the storage pouch on the door knocker could be a gift from a soldier at the mountain pass. Thinking this, Lu Yi used his spirit power to investigate and found a restriction lock on the storage pouch. This confirmed that it wasn't the goodwill of a soldier at the mountain pass. Otherwise, they wouldn't have left behind a restriction lock. In other words, while Lu Yi wasn't here, someone had sneaked into the mountain pass and left this storage pouch behind. What could it be? Breaking the restriction lock was easy for Lu Yi. In just a moment, the restriction lock was removed. Using his divine sense to investigate, he found that there wasn't anything strange inside, only a shadow recording stone. He had just given the sect leader a few shadow recording stones yesterday, and someone had actually given him one today. It was quite a coincidence. Taking out the shadow recording stone, he used his divine sense to investigate. Soon, the image in the shadow recording stone was clearly imprinted into his mind. Lu Yi could tell at a glance that the scene inside was from the insect race's great secret realm. Had he been discovered by someone when he sneaked into the insect race's great secret realm? But soon Lu Yi realized that something was wrong. Although this was the scene of the insect race's great secret realm, it was different from the one he had personally recorded. Most importantly, the angle of view was different. At that time, he had been hiding on the back of the sacred beetle, so his field of view was very high. However, the scene in this shadow recording stone was clearly on the ground. Other than him, there was someone else who had sneaked into the insect race's great secret realm. Lu Ye's heart shook. Sure enough, he couldn't underestimate the talents of the world. He had originally thought that he was the only one who had sneaked into the insect race's great secret realm, but now it seemed that it was very likely that someone else had done it before him. But if that was the case, why didn't the sect leader know? Logically speaking, such a major discovery should have been made known to the upper echelons of both camps at the first moment. What was the meaning of this person deliberately giving this shadow recording stone to him? The image in the shadow recording stone was very short, only a mere dozen breaths of time. Lu Yi flipped it over and over again, but he didn't find any useful information. The latest domain name of this site, 1. Chapter 1099. If he had not gone deep into the insect tribe's great secret realm, He might not have guessed what this place was just by looking at the image recording stone. He would have simply thought that it was a gathering place for the insect tribe. Since the image recording stone's field of vision was not high enough, it naturally could not see the insect tribe's great secret realm as a whole. Unlike his image recording stone, the sect leader realized that it was the source of the insect disaster as soon as he got his hands on it. Lu Yi was confused because there was nothing else that could be traced except for a storage bag and an image recording stone that only lasted for over 10 breaths. He did not know who the image recording stone's owner was, nor did he know why the person gave it to him. Logically speaking, if such a discovery was reported, it would be a great merit. To prevent him from being in the limelight, the sect leader even wanted him to take the credit. Lu Yi could understand the sect leader's intention, but he did not understand why the image recording stone's owner would give him the credit. Moreover, he had just returned from the insect tribe's great secret realm, but he found the image recording stone. Was the timing a coincidence? If he did not go deep into the fissure to investigate, would the image recording stone still be sent to him? Did the person know that he had been to the insect tribe's great secret realm? There were many things that he did not know the answer to. Nevertheless, Lu Yi vaguely felt that it should be a coincidence because he had just reported the insect tribe's great secret realm to the sect leader yesterday. No matter how fast the sect leader was, the news should only be spread to the upper echelons of the military province's Haotian alliance. Therefore, the image recording stone's owner must not know that he had been to the insect tribe's great secret realm. The scene in the image recording stone was not attractive to him at all. Thinking about that, Lu Yi vaguely understood something. No matter what the person wanted to do, it was clear that the person wanted to use this to attract him to achieve some hidden purpose. Under normal circumstances, this thing would be very attractive to him indeed. However, after he had been to the insect tribe's great secret realm, the sound was no longer useful to him. Nevertheless, no matter what the person in the dark was planning, this was only the beginning. Lu Yi put the image recording stone away and sat with his legs crossed. He focused and entered a cultivation state. His guess was right. The image recording stone that only lasted for over 10 breaths was indeed only the beginning. Over the next few months, a storage bag would be secretly sent to him almost every half a month. Every time, it was a shadow recording stone that only lasted for a dozen breaths of time. In 4 months, there were a total of 8 image recording stones. Once the images in the 8 image recording stones were pieced together, they would be able to see more of the insectoid race's great secret realm. The other party's timing was very clever. Every time, it was when Lu Yi went to support the rift, not revealing his whereabouts at all. Lu Yi knew that he was being watched. Perhaps someone was secretly watching him, or perhaps there was someone else's informant at the mouth of the passage. Otherwise, there was no way the timing could be so perfect. He didn't care. After a few months, he already had a guess as to who sent this image recording stone. The other party might have thought that this would pique his interest, but in the end, it was useless. And from this, it could be inferred that the level of contact of the person behind this was not high enough. If they were high enough, they would definitely know that the Blue Blood sect master had already entered the insect race's great secret realm and explored it, so they wouldn't waste their time here. At the moment, this information was only spread among the highest level cultivators in the 9 continents. It hadn't spread yet because the time wasn't right. He did what he should do, cultivating hard every day, and making explosive fire spirit stones and formation discs. In the Dark Moon Forest Pass, Li Taibai received an urgent call from Lin Yu and hurried back. Ever since the two sects started working together, there would always be a divine ocean realm cultivator guarding the rift. However, this wasn't necessary. If there was any danger, the soldiers could send a message back. With the teleportation formation, whether it was Lin Yu, Lu Yi, or Li Taibai's clone, they could rush over to save the situation immediately. Therefore, even if there wasn't a divine ocean realm cultivator on the other side, it didn't matter much. In the main hall, Lin Yu handed a jade slip to Li Taibai. Take a look at this. Li Taibai's clone took it and used his divine sense to check it. He raised his eyebrows. Yu Huajin, Who is she? Although he didn't know who this person was, the information revealed in the jade slip was extraordinary. He was sure that this person was a very powerful master from Grand Heaven Alliance. At the very least, she was somewhat famous. She's a senior elder from Heavenly Yuan sect. At the same time, she's also the division chief of Grand Heaven Alliance's Heaven's Gate Pass. She's a 9th Order Divine Ocean Realm cultivator. Lin Yu explained. You don't know Yu Huajin, but do you remember Lu Yuemei and Tan Shu? Li Taibai's clone nodded. Of course. These two unlucky people died in his hands. How could he forget them? Yu Huajin is Tan Shu's grandmother and Lu Yuemei's mother-in-law. Li Taibai's clone understood. If that's the case, why didn't she stay in Grand Heaven Alliance? Why did she defect to Myriad Demon's Ridge? There was only one piece of information revealed in the jade slip. Yu Huajin was preparing to defect to Myriad Demon's Ridge. Lu Yi didn't understand the deeper meaning at first. Since ancient times, the two camps have been fighting against each other. There were also precedents of voluntary or passive defection. However, it shouldn't have happened in this world where insects were rampant. As soon as Lin Yu mentioned Lu Yuemei and Tan Shu, Lu Yi vaguely understood. Since she wants to defect, there should be a proof of her loyalty and sincerity. What is her proof of loyalty and sincerity? Li Taibai's clone asked. Lin Yu slowly spat out 3 words. Lu Yi. She's going to kill Lu Yi? Lin Yu nodded. That's right. She knows that the top sects on our side see Lu Yi as a thorn in their side. However, due to the current situation, it's inconvenient for them to take action personally to avoid unnecessary trouble. Therefore, she wants to use Lu Yi's head as a proof of her loyalty, hoping to join Myriad Demon's Ridge and receive protection. After all, since ancient times, the two camps have never been soft on traitors. Li Taibai's clone understood and said, since that's the case, she can just do it directly. When the time comes, wouldn't it be more sincere if she brought Lu Yi's head to us? She's just a 9th Order Divine Sea Realm cultivator. There's no reason for us to not accept her, right? That's why she needs a suitable battlefield. That's why the 1,000 Demons City sent us the news. We've been very close to Lu Yi during this period of time, and he's personally come to the Dark Moon Forest Pass before, so he won't be too wary of us. Even if it was Yu Huajin, it was impossible for her to make a move at Shocking Waves Lake Pass, let alone at the crack in the ground. If she wanted to kill Lu Yi, she would have to lure the tiger away from the mountain and lure Lu Yi to Dark Moon Forest Pass. At that time, with the geographical advantage and the cooperation of Lin Yu and Li Taibai, Lu Yi would be unable to escape. Li Taibai's clone looked normal on the surface, but he was sneering in his heart, secretly remembering Yu Huajin's name. When he first placed his clone in Dark Moon Forest Pass, it was just a casual move, but he didn't expect it to play such a big role. If Yu Huajin wanted to deal with him, she didn't hesitate to borrow the strength of Myriad Demon's Ridge. If it weren't for his clone here, Lu Yi would definitely be kept in the dark. If he rashly came to Dark Moon Forest Pass, he would be doomed. But now that he knew, the situation was naturally different. These are all Yu Huajin's requests. She also came up with the operation plan. Although it is simple, it is indeed very effective. I believe that Lu Yi won't be too wary of us now. Li Taibai's clone thought to himself. If you didn't say anything, I really wouldn't be on guard. But since you said it, all my schemes will be useless. At worst, I won't go to Dark Moon Forest Pass. What are the instructions from Myriad Demon City? Compared to Yu Huajin's scheme, he was more concerned about Myriad Demon's Ridge's attitude. Lin Yu smiled slightly. Warn Lu Yi. The clone was a little stunned. He never thought that Myriad Demon's Ridge would make such a decision. Logically speaking, if Myriad Demon's Ridge agreed to Yu Huajin's request and cooperated with her operation, Lu Yi wouldn't be surprised at all. After all, many of the big sects there did see him as a thorn in their side. They couldn't wait to get rid of him. If he cooperated with Yu Huajin, not only would he be able to take revenge, but he would also be able to obtain the loyalty of a 9th Order Divine Sea Realm cultivator. Killing 2 birds with 1 stone, why not? Why is that? The clone was puzzled. Lin Yu said, let's not talk about Lu Yi first. Let's talk about Yu Huajin. That old woman isn't a good person. She really wants to kill Wuxia, but she is obviously hiding something. As far as we know, the twin chi-connected spirit array disk is a mysterious artifact. It was created by Wuxia. Although Pang Zhen had issued a gag order at the Great Council back then, some news would eventually leak out after such a long time. Perhaps the news wasn't conclusive enough, but as long as one paid more attention, they would be able to deduce the truth. Without mentioning anything else, the fact that the Quartermaster Division would send someone to Shocking Waves Lake Pass every month was very suspicious. Moreover, Wuxia had given Lin Yu 100 array discs back then. The twin chi-connected spirit array disc is extremely mysterious. We have also organized artifact refiners to copy it, but unfortunately, the results were minimal. On the other hand, Grand Heaven Alliance has been equipped with it on a large scale. Obviously they can mass-produce it. This is most likely Wuxia's ability. How could Yu Huajin not know the information that we all know? In the current situation, this array disk is too useful for cultivators. If Wuxia dies, who will refine it? We are salivating over this divine artifact. So, she must have concealed this matter because once this matter is exposed, we will never cooperate with her. At this time, the two camps are working together to overcome this difficult time. The death of Wuxia will have a huge impact on the situation. It is very likely that the relationship between the two camps will be broken again. No one can afford to bear this responsibility. The clone nodded slightly. He couldn't help but feel a little absent-minded. He never thought that one day, his life and death would affect the relationship between the two camps. He didn't know whether he should feel honored or afraid. Just by concealing this matter, Yu Huajin's intentions are worthy of death. Moreover, she wants to kill Wuxia for a personal grudge, because she suspects that Lu Yueme died in Wuxia's hands. However, there is no real evidence for this matter. On the contrary, you killed Tan Shu in front of everyone. An old thing like her wants to kill Wuxia based on groundless accusations. Don't tell me she doesn't have any thoughts about you? Not only does she want to kill Wuxia, but she also wants to kill you. After all, Lu Yueme is only her daughter-in-law, but Tan Shu is her grandson. It is needless to say which side has a bigger grudge. The latest domain name of this website, 1. Chapter 1100. Therefore, Yu Huajin definitely wants to kill you. Joining the Wan Mo Ridge might just be a pretense. If she can get rid of Wuxia, she will definitely make a move on you. Lin Yu's analysis was very reasonable. Compared to Wuxia, Yu Huajin wanted to kill Li Taibai more. Just as Lin Yu said, the old thing only suspected Wuxia, but Li Taibai killed Tan Shu in front of everyone. The cultivators from both sides witnessed it with their own eyes. She betrayed the Haotian alliance and offended our Wan Mo Ridge. How can there be a place for her in the land of the 9 states? The clone was confused. Lin Yu sighed. I'm afraid that an old thing like her would rather die for revenge. Why would she care about the future? As long as she can kill you or Wuxia, it would be a gain for her. Hatred is something that can change a person beyond recognition. It can also make a person's actions become unreasonable. She probably didn't want to continue living. People who were full of hatred were not scary. What was scary was people who were not only full of hatred, but also had the will to die. No one knew what crazy things this kind of person would do. If it was in the past, the higher-ups might have accepted her suggestion. To us, Yu Huajin's action is just a dogfight. It has nothing to do with us. However, the situation now is different. Wuxia must live. Once he dies, the relationship between the two camps will definitely be broken again. It won't be beneficial to the current situation. Moreover, only he can refine the twin spirit connection disk. If we can use this opportunity to save Wuxia's life, the higher-ups might have a chance to get a batch of disc from the Haotian alliance. Of course, the most important thing is that we have you on our side. Me. The clone was stunned. Lin Yu smiled and said, a few years ago, Wuxia was only at the Spirit Stream tier and Cloud River tier. But the various top sects of the Myriad Demon Ridge viewed him as a scourge. They weren't making a big fuss over nothing, but they had learned a lesson from the mistakes of others. They had no choice but to guard against him. In particular, The Jade Blood sect that Wuxia came from was the sect of Feng Wujiang. The various top sects were terrified of Feng Wujiang, and they feared that another such character would appear in the Jade Blood sect. That was why they issued a large bounty for his life. Haotian Alliance has Wuxia, but Wanemo Ridge has Yu Li Tai. Although you are not as famous as him, both of you are on par with each other in terms of potential. Hence, there will be someone who can keep him in check, and the tragedy that happened decades ago will not happen again. The doppelganger lowered his eyes and remained silent. He was very curious about how the Myriad Demon's Ridge would react if the truth of his doppelganger was exposed one day. Anger attacking the heart, flustered and exasperated. Hence, the higher-ups decided to warn Wuxia and ask him to be careful. Junior brother Tai Bai, you are about the same age as him, and you have similar temperaments. This matter requires you to make a trip. The doppelganger nodded. It is my duty. However, senior sister, according to my understanding of him, since Yu Huajin has the intention to kill him, Na Qi will definitely not let it go. It is very likely that he will beat her at her own game. If that is the case, how should we deal with it? Lin Yu said. The Myriad Demon Ridge has already expected this. If that is the case, then you can negotiate with him. Use the Twin Spirit Connected Branches formation disc as a bargaining chip. We can help him kill Yu Huajin. Junior brother, I know that both of you are friends, but friendship is friendship. You must be clear about your private matters. If this matter is done well, it will be a great merit. It will also be beneficial for junior brother to establish himself in the Myriad Demon Ridge in the future. I understand. The doppelganger moved quickly and arrived at the fissure through the teleportation array. Then, he set off from the fissure and flew towards the Shocking Waves Lake. Although the original body had already seen everything clearly, he still had to go through the motions. Yu Huajin must be killed. Although they did not know each other, she was willing to betray the Haotian Alliance and join the Myriad Demon Ridge to kill him. From his standpoint, there was no need for him to be merciful to her. He only hoped that after this incident, there would not be any more similar incidents. After killing Tan Shu, Lu Yueme was lured out. After killing Lu Yueme, Yu Huajin came out. It could not be endless. As for Lin Yu's request, it was not a big deal. He could provide a batch of Twin Spirit Connected Branches formation discs. As long as the quantity was not too large, it would not be a problem. With a thought, he suddenly got up and rushed out of the door. He unsheathed his Pan-Shan saber and slashed out a crescent-shaped saber light. The void in front of him was distorted. A vague figure flashed and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Accompanied by a soft exclamation, the figure disappeared. Lu Yi spread out his divine perception, but could not find the other party's aura. The other party ran very fast and was very vigilant. However, that brief glimpse just now allowed him to roughly recognize who it was. The cultivators on duty at the mountain pass heard the commotion and hurried over. Lu Yi waved his hand at them, indicating that everything was fine. Only then did the soldiers retreat. Yi and Hupo also rushed out bewildered. Yi asked, Lu Yi, what's wrong? An old friend came to visit me. Lu Yi replied and sheathed his saber. When Yi saw this, she knew that this old friend was most likely not a good friend. Hupo lowered his head and picked up a storage pouch from the ground with his mouth. He scuttled to Lu Ye's shoulder. This storage pouch was obviously left behind when the other party came over. He opened the storage pouch and took out a shadow recording stone and a jade slip. After checking, the shadow recording stone showed the scene of the insect race's great secret realm. It was only a dozen breaths. There was a sentence in the jade slip. Someone wants to harm you. Don't run around for a while. He was inwardly surprised. These people were really well informed. He had just learned about Yu Huajin's matter from his clone, and the other party actually ran over to give him a warning. Although the message was vague, it was indeed a warning. From the looks of it, the other party clearly had people in Myriad Demon's Ridge, or else they would not know about Yu Huajin's matter. However, the other party's level of contact was not high enough. Otherwise, they should have known about Myriad Demon City's true decision, and would not have specially run over to warn him. He raised his hand and tapped on his battlefield imprint, sending a message out. Since you're already here, why are you running so fast? The other party only replied after a while. What are you talking about? She looked like she could not do anything even if she was exposed and refused to admit it. Lu Yi looked down on her secretive style. Since the other party refused to admit it, he could not be bothered to say anything more. He raised a hand and patted Yi's small head. Go cultivate. It's fine now. Yi nodded and led Hupo into the room. Lu Yi leaped and landed on the city wall of the mountain pass. A moment later his clone Li Taibai rushed over and landed beside Lu Yi. Among the soldiers who stayed behind, their mountain pass master and Li Taibai, the young mountain pass master of the Dark Moon Forest Pass, stood side by side. They chatted and laughed for a while before Li Taibai left on his sword and soon disappeared. Lu Ye's clone returned to the Dark Moon Forest Pass and informed Lin Yu of the results of this trip. Lu Ye promised to give us 2,000 array discs as a reward after the mission is completed. 2,000? Lin Yu frowned slightly. This number is a little low. Although there was no clear number of array discs requested by Myriad Demon City, it was obvious that the more the better. 2,000 array discs could at most equip less than 20,000 cultivators. Compared to the huge size of Myriad Demon's Ridge, it was really a drop in the bucket. However, Myriad Demon City obviously also knew that such strategic resources, even if Lu Yi refined them, did not have much autonomy in the distribution, especially when it was funded to Myriad Demon's Ridge. If this had happened before, it would have been proper funding of the enemy, and they would definitely be held accountable. However, the current situation was different, and both sides had some room to maneuver. Still, the number could not be too large. The clone shook his head and said, "This is the maximum number that Lu Ye can provide. He can't do anything more." Lin Yu sighed. So be it. It's better than nothing. In terms of talent, she believed that Li Taibai was not inferior to Lu Ye in the slightest, and his future achievements would definitely not be lower than Lu Ye's. However, in terms of unorthodox methods, Lu Ye was clearly superior. This could not be helped. After all, Lu Ye had the foundation of a spirit tattoo master, while Li Taibai was a sword cultivator. What else could he know besides flying swords? In today's world, it was already a blessing for Myriad Demon's Ridge to have Li Taibai. It was not good to ask for too much. Moreover, with this cooperation, there would be other opportunities in the future. Have you discussed what to do? Lin Yu asked. The clone said, he means that there is no need to have so many schemes and tricks. Just be simple and straightforward. When the time comes, I will cooperate with him and senior sister will hold the fort. Lin Yu understood. That's not a problem. But can the two of you kill Yu Huajin together? After all, she is a 9th Order Divine Sea Realm cultivator. The two heroes of the War Province were indeed skilled in cooperation, as if they were one, but their cultivation was still a shortcoming. No one could say for sure what their chances of winning against a 9th Order Divine Sea Realm cultivator were. However, with Lin Yu holding the fort, there should be no problem if it was 3 against 1. The clone smiled proudly. Whether we can kill her or not, we will know after we fight. Time passed by. Half a month later, an uninvited guest suddenly came to the Dark Moon Forest Pass. He was wrapped in a black robe and his aura was hidden. Lin Yu was responsible for receiving him. She led him into a secret room and talked to him in detail. After settling him down, she left. She hurriedly found the clone and said bluntly, Yu Huajin is here. The clone nodded. I will send a message to Brother Ye and ask him to come over. Lin Yu said, Yu Huajin's condition is not right. I can see that her vitality is slipping and her cultivation is very likely to have fallen. She also seems to have a faint will to die. I don't think she wants to leave alive. You have to be careful. It had to be said that Lin Yu's eyesight was quite sharp. Although Yu Huajin tried her best to restrain her aura and not reveal too much, Lin Yu was still a 7th Order Divine Sea Realm cultivator. She could see through her at a glance. Half a year ago, when she was rushing to Shocking Waves Lake Pass, she was ambushed by Thought Moon Immortal and was severely injured on the spot. Her body, which was already in poor condition, became even more exhausted. Although her injuries were healed now, her cultivation had indeed slipped. The current her could no longer be considered a true ninth-order Divine Sea Realm cultivator. The latest domain name of this site, 1. Chapter 1101. This was also the reason why Yu Huajin was so impatient. She couldn't wait any longer. According to the news she had heard, both Lu Ye and Li Taibai were progressing rapidly in their cultivation. On the other hand, she was getting old and her strength was declining day by day. If this continued, the gap between their cultivation would only become smaller and smaller. How could she take revenge then? She had already reached an agreement with the Myriad Devil Ridge. The Dark Moon Forest Pass would help her kill Lu Ye. When the time came, she would give the Myriad Devil Ridge information about the person who had created the twin Qi-linked branch array disk. This was what the Myriad Devil Ridge wanted to know the most. Of course, Myriad Demon Ridge couldn't know that the refiner was Lu Ye. Otherwise, her plan wouldn't be able to be carried out. She wanted to kill with a borrowed knife. As for what would happen after that, she wouldn't be able to live for long. What was the point of thinking so much? Before she died, she would kill everyone who deserved to be killed. Then she could go to the underworld with a smile. A few days later, somewhere in Dark Moon Forest Pass, Yu Huajin was waiting quietly in a black robe. This was the location of the transmission array. According to the plan, Lu Ye would receive Li Taibai's invitation and then be teleported here through the transmission array. After the teleportation, there would be a brief moment of absent-mindedness. That would be the best time for her to make a move. Even if her cultivation had declined, she was still a ninth-order Divine Sea Realm cultivator. She was confident that she could kill him in one strike. The plan was simple but effective. Lin Yu and Li Taibai stood not far away. Yu Huajin, who was shrouded in a black robe, bent over and tried to hide the murderous intent in her heart. Lu Ye had to die. Li Taibai also had to die. Relatively speaking, her murderous intent towards Li Taibai was greater. However, she couldn't show it right now. Otherwise, all her efforts would be in vain. Since coming to Dark Moon Forest Pass, she had tried her best to show her desire to survive in order to gain Lin Yu's trust. But in fact, she knew that after she made a move this time, she wouldn't be able to survive no matter what. She had betrayed Grand Heaven Alliance and offended Myriad Demon Ridge. There was no place for her in the 9 provinces. First update in this farce of mutual deception, Myriad Demon Ridge had its own plan. Yu Huajin and Zhang Huajin had their own plans. Lu Ye had another plan. For this reason, he had to find a helper, and this helper was ready-made. He believed that the other party would not refuse his request. Lu Ye was quietly waiting 150 kilometers away from Shocking Waves Lake. Under the moonlight, a figure slowly approached and stood 300 meters away from him. That figure was graceful and charming, and her face was also extremely beautiful. However, there was some vigilance in her eyes. "Why are you looking for me? Yu Daiwei?" Lu Ye looked at her indifferently. "I need you to do me a favor." Yu Daiwei couldn't help but sneer. "We what? Relationship? Why should I help you? For the past few months, you've been sending me shadow recording stones. Wasn't it to arouse my curiosity, so that I would take the initiative to look for you? Now that I'm doing as you wish, why do you have to be so difficult?" It was easy to deduce this point. Under the current situation, the various discoveries that he made after sneaking into the insect tribe's secret realm were undoubtedly a great achievement. However, the discoverer did not report it to the Grand Sky Alliance or the Myriad Demons Ridge. Instead, he sent the photostone that recorded the scene to him. There was no doubt that he wanted to arouse his curiosity. It was obvious that he wanted to give this achievement to him. This was because Grand Mountain wanted him to help establish a third faction. Such a merit would give Lu Ye a good reputation and stand on Grand Mountain's side. From the looks of it, the greater the reputation Lu Ye had, the more benefits he would receive after establishing a third faction. Therefore, he wanted to help Lu Ye build momentum first. Once Lu Ye's reputation and momentum had accumulated to a certain extent, he would be able to rise up in revolt. Bai Yu Daiwei snorted lightly and said, "Since you know I was the one who sent them here, it must have been hard for you to endure for so long. What? Aren't you curious about the scenes recorded in those image recording stones?" It's just the source of the insect disaster. Yu Daiwei frowned. You're talking as if you've been there before. Lu Yi was silent. He had been there before, but there was no need to let Yu Daiwei know about this. Yu Daiwei said impatiently, since you have no intention of contacting us, why did you call me over? As for what you want me to help you with, don't even mention it, I will never help you. And didn't I tell you not to run around for a while? If you help me with this, I'll go with you to see Grand Mountain. Yu Daiwei's voice stopped abruptly. This chapter is not finished. Chapter 1101. Helper. She looked at Lu Yi suspiciously. Are you serious? You have to swear a heavenly oath first. Otherwise I won't swear it. Promise. Lu Yi raised his hand. Jade blood sex. Lu Yi respectfully invites the heavenly oath. Seeing this, Yu Daiwei immediately smiled. At least you have a conscience. Say it. What do you want me to help with? Let's make it clear first. Don't mention it, lest we hurt each other's feelings. It's very simple. I need you to use the teleportation array once. Yu Daiwei immediately became alert. Where is the starting point? Where does it lead to? From here it leads to the Dark Moon Forest Pass. Yu Daiwei was alert. What do you want to do? You don't need to know what I want to do. You just need to help me with this. But don't worry. I won't do anything disadvantageous to you. I'll also talk to the Dark Moon Forest Pass. Yu Daiwei tilted her head and looked at him. Do you know that Yu Huajin has already entered the Dark Moon Forest Pass? She's waiting for you there. No, you want me to attract her attention. You want to sneak an attack on her? Vaguely investigating the truth. Yu Daiwei was shocked. Lu Yi did not explain further. You can treat this as a deal. Of course, it's up to you whether you agree or not. I don't care whether you help me or not. Even without Yu Daiwei, his plan could still be carried out. It was just a little troublesome. If Yu Daiwei could attract Yu Huajin's attention through the teleportation array, his plan would be more confident. You're really daring. Yu Daiwei's face was full of surprise. Even she didn't want to easily provoke an old fellow like Yu Huajin. But Lu Yi didn't take it to heart. He understood. Dark Forest passes with you? If that wasn't the case, Lu Yi wouldn't have acted in such a manner. That old witch Yu Huajin had undoubtedly been sold out by the myriad devil rich. This was truly unexpected. But on second thought, it was normal for the myriad devil rich to make such a choice, especially under the current situation. After pondering for a while, Yu Daiwei nodded and said, All right, I'll help you. But don't forget your promise. Lu Yi immediately started to set up the teleportation array. After a while, he finished setting it up and said, Wait for my news. Then he flew towards the Dark Moon Forest Pass. At the teleportation array in the Dark Moon Forest Pass, Yu Huajin was a little impatient and asked, Did something happen? It was already the agreed time, but there was still no movement from the teleportation array. This made her feel a little uneasy. Ling Yu looked at the doppelganger and the doppelganger said, I'll send a message to ask. It pretended to fiddle with the array and said again, It will be here at any time. Elder Yu, please wait patiently. Yu Huajin was silent. She secretly activated her spiritual power to ensure that she could explode with a thunderous attack at any time. Essence//book pavilion first update. After waiting for a while, the teleportation array in front of her finally moved. The void began to distort, and a vague figure appeared from it. Yu Huajin, who was already prepared, was instantly surrounded by lightning. She raised her hand, and a huge thunderbolt blasted towards the figure. At the same time, her eyes widened as if she wanted to see how that person would die with her own eyes. At the same time, the sound of a sword rang out. Sword chi swept out from the sword gourd of Li Taibai's doppelganger. On the other side, Lu Ye's ghostly figure suddenly appeared 300 feet away. He unsheathed his Panshan saber, and his spiritual power surged. On the blade, the saber was dazzling. Both of them moved quickly, because this was the best opportunity to sneak attack Yu Huajin. She was focused almost all of her energy on the teleportation array. Even if she was prepared, she wouldn't be too thorough. However, immediately after Lu Ye's figure stopped, the sword dragon that Li Taibai's doppelganger had just condensed also froze. Ling Yu's expression changed even more. She flashed in front of Li Taibai, and the spiritual power around her surged into a barrier. The reason for everyone's change. It was because another figure suddenly appeared in the field. A figure that no one had noticed. She really was like a ghost. She appeared without warning, and was almost sticking to Yu Huajin's back. Before she appeared, she didn't reveal any aura. After she appeared, there was no killing intent at all. However, a cold light suddenly appeared. Yu Huajin's body suddenly stiffened, and the thunderbolt in front of her bloomed. The power also dissipated. In the space around them, the lightning teleportation array received a message from Lu Yi. This chapter isn't finished. Chapter 1101. Lu Yi helper Yu Daiwei, who had blessed herself with many defenses, appeared. The expected violent attack didn't come. There was only a slight power of thunder. It swept away to the side. The reason why she agreed to help Lu Yi was that she was confident in her own strength. Her cultivation was only one level lower than Yu Huajin's. As long as she prepared her defenses in advance, even if she was attacked by Yu Huajin at the end of the teleportation, her life wouldn't be in danger. But at this moment, she felt that Yu Huajin's attack, it was too weak. When she recovered from her daze, she saw the tip of the sword sticking out of Yu Huajin's chest at a glance. Her eyes couldn't help but shrink. This was definitely a fatal wound, because the place where the tip of the sword penetrated was the heart. With such an injury, Yu Huajin wouldn't be able to survive. She didn't see who attacked Yu Huajin, because the person was completely behind Yu Huajin, and was tightly covered by Yu Huajin. She originally thought that even if Lu Yi took advantage of Yu Huajin's full strength to launch a sneak attack, he wouldn't be able to do his best. At that time, he might need her help. But now, it seemed that it saved some trouble. But soon, she was surprised to find that the person who launched the sneak attack wasn't Lu Yi, because this guy was standing not far away with a knife. She was stunned. Then, she looked behind Yu Huajin in surprise. Please enter com to view the latest update. Chapter 1101, Lu Yi Helper. Chapter 1102. On the other side, Ling Yu was protecting a young man in white behind her, like she was protecting a little chick. As far as she knew, he should be one of the two heroes of the war province, Sword Cultivator Li Taibai. The sword dragon hovering above his head undoubtedly explained his identity. Yu Daiwei couldn't understand who had ambushed Yu Huajin, until Yu Huajin roared. What a similar scene to Thought Moon Immortal. Half a year ago, she was stopped by Zhao Chun on her way to Shocking Waves Lake Pass. When she was talking to Zhao Chun, she had been ambushed by Thought Moon Immortal. That time, Thought Moon Immortal had shown mercy and didn't take her life. But this time was different. Yu Huajin could clearly feel her vitality rapidly fading away. Because of the pain and anger, Yu Huajin's eyes trembled violently. She couldn't believe that Thought Moon Immortal would really kill her. Indeed, Thought Moon Immortal had warned her not to come within 100 kilometers of Lu Yi, after severely injuring her last time. How could she take it to heart? For someone like her, she would definitely investigate Thought Moon Immortal's movements before taking action. Thought Moon Immortal couldn't be secretly protecting Lu Yi all the time, right? As far as she knew, Thought Moon Immortal had been exploring the Earth Fissure recently, and hadn't returned. She shouldn't have appeared here at all. But Thought Moon Immortal had snuck in here long ago, and had been hiding, waiting for the moment she took action to launch a sneak attack. She had grasped the timing very well. Even if her condition had slipped, she was still a 9th Order Divine Sea Realm cultivator. Last time, she had been ambushed because Zhao Chun had distracted her. This time, she had been ambushed because she had let her guard down. Under normal circumstances, even Thought Moon Immortal couldn't pose such a fatal threat to a cultivator of the same level so easily. Ghost cultivators were always able to hibernate like this. They didn't make a move, but once they did, it would be earth-shattering. In an instant, Yu Huajin understood one thing. The information she had received was wrong, and she didn't dare to think about how Moon Immortal could interfere with her intelligence. I've said it before, but it seems you didn't take it to heart. Thought Moon Immortal's soft voice sounded in her ear, but it was like a soul-stirring sound. Update without error at Yu Huajin's expression suddenly became flustered. It was not because she was about to die. When she carried out this plan, she was already prepared to die. Even if she was lucky enough to survive today, she would die one day. The reason why she was flustered was because a completely unfamiliar figure had appeared in front of the teleportation formation. It was not Wuxia as she had imagined. The other party was a woman with extremely powerful spiritual energy fluctuations, at least on the level of an 8th-order divine sea realm cultivator. Furthermore, the surface of her body was covered in layers of defensive spirit techniques. At the same time, there was also an artifact revolving around her, giving her a very alert posture. The other party obviously knew that he would be attacked as soon as he appeared, so he had prepared himself in advance. Wuxia knew that he was going to kill him. This strange woman was a substitute he had called over, a helper, just to attract his attention. Saber. In an instant, Yu Huajin saw through the truth. Sorrow filled her heart. She knew that she had been betrayed. Not only had the myriad Devil Ridge betrayed her, but the person she trusted the most had also betrayed her. She could not blame anyone. In the end, she had chosen a path that no one could tolerate. At the last moment before her vitality dissipated, she suddenly turned her head. A pair of gloomy eyes stared at Li Tai-bai, who was being protected behind Lin Yu. Raging flames burned in her old eyes. It was not a manifestation of pure anger, but real flames, pale white flames. Then a venomous voice came from her mouth. Soul flame fusion. As the violent spiritual energy surged, raging flames swept out and wrapped her whole body. Nian Yuxian sensed that something was wrong. With a shake of her willow leaf dagger, she shattered the last of her vitality. Almost at the same time, Li Tai-bai's clone let out a muffled groan. The sword dragon that had been hovering above his head collapsed uncontrollably. His body swayed slightly and was about to fall to the ground. Lin Yu, who was protecting him, turned pale with fright. She turned around to support him. However, there was another person who moved faster than her. It was Wuxia. The sudden appearance of Nian Yuxian was a pleasant surprise. If he had known that Nian Yuxian was here, he would not have needed to make so many preparations. He had thought that this trip would be a life-and-death battle. Since Nian Yuxian had made a move, there was no need for him to waste any more time. However, he did not let his guard down. When a person was at a dead end, it would not be strange for them to do anything crazy. Pale white. This chapter is not finished. Chapter 1102. Death, the point of no return. When the flames emerged from Yu Huajin's eyes, her clone was already on guard. Her main body had already rushed towards her clone. Therefore, she was able to support her clone before Lin Yu. Sensing the change in her clone, Wuxia immediately understood the terror of Yu Huajin's final counterattack. This should be a spiritual energy secret technique. She burned the power of her own spiritual energy. In a desperate situation, she did not seek to protect herself. She only sought to take her enemy down with her. After this move, regardless of whether her enemy died or not, Yu Huajin would not be able to survive. Lin Yu was right. Comparatively speaking, Yu Huajin's killing intent towards Li Tai-bai was greater. This was because Tan Shu had indeed died under his sword. This was something that could not be faked. It was also something that everyone had witnessed. Therefore, when she realized that she was about to die, she resolutely used this secret technique on Li Tai-bai. The reason why the clone could exist like a living person without revealing any flaws was that the root of the talent tree had taken away a part of Wuxia's strength, including his vitality, spiritual energy, and spiritual energy. Of course, Wuxia could restore this part of his strength at any time, so it would not affect his strength too much. The eruption of a 9th-order divine sea realm cultivator burning his own soul, in a desperate situation, was simply too terrifying. The huge spiritual energy impact instantly annihilated a part of the clone's soul, causing Wuxia to directly lose contact with it, and no longer be able to sense the existence of its soul. Wuxia secretly rejoiced. Fortunately, the clone had attracted Yu Huajin's hatred. Otherwise, if this secret technique had been aimed at his main body, even with the soul-suppressing tower protecting his soul would have been shaken, and his soul sea might have been torn apart. The current situation was that although the clone's soul had been annihilated, it had not disappeared. After all, the root of the talent tree was still there, and so was the clone's vitality and spiritual energy. For Lu Yi, all he needed to do was replenish the clone's spiritual energy. It was not too troublesome. Lin Yu, however, did not know this. Seeing Li Tai-bai faint, she could not help but be shocked. Junior brother Tai-bai. This voice reached Yu Huajin's ears, and when her vitality finally dissipated, a smile appeared on her face. No matter what, she had avenged her grandson. The pale white flames that burned Yu Huajin's soul disappeared, and Thought Moon Immortal pulled out her willow catkin short sword. Yu Huajin's body fell limply to the ground. She did not pay attention to the chaos on Li Tai-bai's side. In her opinion, Li Tai-bai was a member of Myriad Demon Ridge, so his life and death had nothing to do with her. She had only come here to protect Lu Yi. Now that she had killed Yu Huajin, the biggest threat was gone, and her mission was complete. Holding the willow catkin short sword, she raised her eyes and looked at Yu Daiwei in front of her indifferently. Yu Daiwei did not dare to move, and her expression became complicated. After the clone received the soul power from the main body, it immediately opened its eyes. Lin Yu stepped forward nervously and asked with concern, "Junior brother Tai-bai, are you alright? Is your soul injured?" She could also see the danger of Yu Huajin's last secret technique. Logically speaking, Li Tai-bai should not be in a good condition if he was suddenly attacked, but now it seemed that he was fine. The clone shook its head. "My soul is fine. I've made senior sister worry." Lin Yu said, "Check carefully. Don't leave any hidden dangers." Although the clone knew that there was no need to check anything, it still did as he was told. Lu Yi just stood to the side and remained silent. Not far away, Yu Daiwei's voice suddenly sounded, "Lu Yi, look over here." Lu Yi looked over and saw that she was standing on the teleportation array, staring at Thought Moon Immortal. However, their expressions were completely different. Thought Moon Immortal's face was full of scrutiny, but Yu Daiwei's entire body was tense, as if she was facing a great enemy. If it were an ordinary ghost cultivator, it would naturally not be enough to make Yu Daiwei so nervous. As everyone knew, ghost cultivator's ability to fight head-on was better than other sects. Her faction was a notch worse, so even if her cultivation was lower, she would still be able to level 1. Against a ghost cultivator, it was not a problem to keep her life. The key point was that the one standing in front of her was not a normal ghost cultivator, but Thought Moon Immortal. In addition to being a ghost cultivator, she was also a sword cultivator. Moreover, she was someone who fought side by side with Tai Shan during the same period. She had heard Tai Shan talk about Thought Moon Immortal more than once. She was definitely one of the strongest members of 9 regions. She had no confidence that she could defeat the other party, especially under the premise that they were so close to each other. If she really made a move, her weak body as a magical cultivator would not be able to withstand it. This chapter is not finished. Chapter 1102. Ghost Cultivator, the point of no return. She received several flying swords from the other party. She didn't expect to bump into Thought Moon Immortal in this place. If she had known that she was here, she would not have agreed to Lu Ye's request. Now she was entrusted with a small favor, but she was trapped here. In particular, the way Thought Moon Immortal looked at her made her feel very uneasy, as if a sharp sword would stab her at any time. She had no choice but to ask for help from Lu Yi. Seeing her like this, Lu Yi wanted to laugh, but after all, she was invited by herself, and she also helped to divert Yu Huajin's attention. I can't do something like burning the bridge after crossing the river. She didn't look like a good person. Kill her or not? Thought Moon Immortal asked. Yu Daiwei held her breath and stared at Lu Yi nervously. She was afraid that the word kill would come out of his mouth, and then she would be dead. Why do I look like a bad person? But I don't dare to say it out loud. Although she's not a good person, she was also entrusted by me to come here, and there are some things that will fall on her later. Senior Sister Nian, please spare her dog life. Lu Yi said softly. Yu Daiwei glared at him fiercely, apparently very dissatisfied with him. It's still your job to be a dog. Please enter com to view the latest update. Chapter 1102. Ghost Cultivator, the point of no return. Chapter 1103. With Lu Ye's guarantee, Thought Moon Immortal finally withdrew her killing intent. She lightly spat out a word, "Get lost." Yu Daiwei felt as if she had been granted amnesty. She turned around and flew out. Only when she flew far away did a voice come from afar. "Luya, don't forget your promise." The smell of blood filled the air. Yu Huajin's corpse was lying horizontally. Lin Yu was still nervously protecting Li Taibai behind her, her gaze fixed on Thought Moon Immortal. Compared to the old and frail Yu Huajin, the sudden appearance of Thought Moon Immortal undoubtedly made her feel more nervous. She could let Lu Yi freely enter and exit the Dark Moon Forest Pass, under the premise of cooperation between the two sides. And no matter what, Li Taibai and Luya had some friendship. But this didn't mean that just anyone could barge into the pass she guarded, especially a powerful ghost cultivator like Thought Moon Immortal. Yu Huajin was killed by her in one blow. If Thought Moon Immortal was willing, she couldn't protect herself. For a moment, she couldn't help but feel a sense of crisis. Fortunately, she also knew that Thought Moon Immortal probably wouldn't kill again. Just as the myriad Devil Ridge wanted to maintain the fragile peace between the two camps, the Grand Heaven Alliance also had the same idea. "Why is Senior Sister Nian here?" Lu Yi asked. Thought Moon Immortal had a good relationship with Shui Yuan. She was once the right-hand man of Big Senior Brother. So although there was a gap in age, it wasn't a problem to call her senior sister. Especially now that Lu Yi had already reached the Divine Sea. However, he could vaguely guess that it shouldn't be a coincidence that Thought Moon Immortal appeared here. Obviously, she had received some news and had been secretly following Yu Huajin. Otherwise, she wouldn't have grasped the timing so well. Passing by, Thought Moon Immortal replied lightly. She naturally wouldn't tell Lu Yi the whole story. There was no need for that. Now that Yu Huajin was dead, the biggest threat had been removed. No one would secretly want to kill Lu Yi in the future. Lu Yi was speechless. In vast Sky City, in the headmaster's small courtyard, the headmaster and Zhao Chun of the Heaven Yuan sect sat across from each other, sipping tea. The two of them had been sitting there for several hours already. Neither of them spoke, but they had drunk several pots of tea. Zhao Chun suddenly showed a sad expression and slowly got up. "Brother Tang, this matter is over, goodbye." The sect leader nodded and didn't say anything, nor did he send him off. Zhao Chun walked out of the house and looked up. He saw a sky full of stars and the night sky was bright. He let out a deep sigh. The feelings of the past could only be recalled. Some things couldn't be stopped, and some people couldn't be persuaded. Since they couldn't be stopped or persuaded, they could only nip the problem in the bud. Even if they couldn't bear it, even if they were sad, they still had to give it up. At his level of cultivation, the interests of the sect had long surpassed personal feelings. He had to make plans for the entire Heavenly Yuan sect, and could no longer be someone's senior brother. He had also thought of continuing to stop her, just like he had done the last time. However, it was meaningless. Moreover, that junior sister no longer had any attachments. Now she was only filled with hatred and resentment. At this time, this kind of obsession was very dangerous. In the end, he had chosen a path of no return. Dark Moon Forest Pass. Thought Moon Immortal had already left with Yu Huajin's corpse. Before leaving, she didn't say much to Lu Yi. It was as if she really was just passing by, and casually killed a small character who wanted to harm Lu Yi. Lin Yu breathed a long sigh of relief, as if a big stone had been lifted from her heart. Lu Yi also left. He didn't use the transmission array, but instead flew out of the Dark Moon Forest Pass. After traveling 100 kilometers, Yu Daiwei was waiting. When she saw Lu Yi, she couldn't help but look behind him. She was still worried, so she used her divine sense to investigate the surroundings. Lu Yi looked at her. "What are you looking for?" Yu Daiwei was very careful, and with a sneaky look she asked, "Did Thought Moon Immortal follow you? Lead the way." Lu Yi urged impatiently. Yu Daiwei curled her lips. However, she also knew that if Thought Moon Immortal had followed them secretly, she might not have been able to find her with her ability. So, even if she tried to investigate, it would be useless. Looking Lu Yi up and down, she clicked her tongue in wonder. "So you're already a fourth-order Divine Sea Realm cultivator." She didn't pay much attention before, but when Lu Yi's saber intent and spirit chi surged in the Dark Moon Forest Pass, she suddenly discovered that Lu Ye's cultivation had reached the fourth order divine sea realm. First update at more than a year ago, Lu Yi, who had been missing for a long time, didn't know where to go. This chapter is not finished. Chapter 1103. Divine Sea Realm. Seeing Taishan, when Lu Yi returned to the 9 provinces, he had only just broken through to the Divine Sea Realm. In just over a year, his cultivation had advanced by 4 minor realms. Such a cultivation speed was terrifying. She faintly realized that it was because he had broken through to the 4th order Divine Sea Realm that Lu Yi took the initiative to ask to see Senior, because he probably felt that he was qualified to escape from Senior. Thinking about it again, Lu Yi really did have such qualifications. This guy's true strength was always several minor realms higher than his true realm. Thinking back to when he had just broken through to the Divine Sea Realm, Lu Yi had already been difficult to deal with. Now he was even stronger than before. Even if Senior took action, how confident could he be in capturing him alive? What's more, Senior valued him greatly, so he might not necessarily hate him. Worthy of being a person favored by the heavens. Yu Daiwei had never envied anyone in her life, but facing Lu Yi, she still felt a little uncomfortable. Lead the way, Lu Yi urged again. Just as Yu Daiwei thought, now that he had broken through to the 4th order Divine Sea Realm, he felt that he could escape from Taishan. Otherwise, he wouldn't have taken the initiative to see Taishan. There were some things that needed to be discussed openly with him. Not for anything else, but the current situation in the 9 states was not good. The forces in Taishan's hands were an unstable factor, and if he took advantage of this opportunity to cause trouble, it would only make the situation worse. So Lu Yi had to appease him. Also, Lu Yi wanted to talk to Taishan about borrowing his subordinate's strength. He had to return to the blood refining world eventually, and it would be useless for him to go back alone. So he needed to bring a large number of helpers. Where would these helpers come from? The forces under Taishan's command were the best choice, and they were also ready-made choices. Of course, if it were anyone else, Taishan might not care. But this matter involved his eldest senior brother, so it was impossible for Taishan to remain indifferent. First update at these 2 points were Lu Ye's plan. As for whether Taishan believed him or not, Lu Yi didn't need to worry about it. Before returning from the blood refining world, his eldest senior brother had given him a lot of instructions. Yu Daiwei led the way with Lu Yi following closely behind. This woman probably had some resentment in her heart, so she deliberately wanted to embarrass Lu Yi while flying. She flew faster and faster, waiting for Lu Yi to beg her to slow down so that she could regain her face. Unexpectedly, no matter how fast she flew, Lu Yi could easily keep up with her, which made her very depressed. The plan in her heart was ruined, so she could only slow down. Flying like before consumed a lot of her energy. Flying from dark to dawn, Lu Yi felt that something was wrong in this direction. This was because from the map, it seemed to be heading towards Fan Mountain. His heart skipped a beat. Is Taishan over at Mount Tung? Fan Mountain was vast and sparsely populated. Now, other than the Jade Blood Sect, there was only the Ziwei Taoist Palace. On many spiritual peaks, there were many caves of rogue cultivators. If Taishan hid in one of the caves and pretended to be a rogue cultivator, no one would be able to find him. Yu Daiwei said, His Excellency deliberately chose that place to meet you. Even I can't confirm his whereabouts, so you don't need to inquire about it. This was normal. For someone like Taishan, it was not good for him to show off in front of others. After hiding for so many years, there were probably hiding places everywhere in the 9 states. After entering Mount Tung, Lu Yi looked down and frowned. Fan Mountain used to be a picturesque place with lush mountains and clear waters, a place filled with outstanding people. However, at this moment, many of the spirit peaks were barren and devoid of life. This was clearly the result of the insect clan's rampage. Fan Mountain was not the only place like this. Currently, most of the 9 states were in the same situation. When they reached a nameless mountain, Yu Daiwei stopped and flew over. Lu Yi followed closely. Landing on the peak, Lu Yi saw a familiar figure waiting for his arrival. It was Taishan. Beside him was a burly figure, but looking at his dull expression, it should be a Dao soldier. Lu Yi could not help but think of Dao Shisan. When he returned from the blood-refining realm, Dao Shisan did not come back with him. Presumably, the long-distance teleportation consumed too much energy, so Jiuzhou's Tianji cut off Dao Shisan's teleportation and left him in the blood-refining realm. Sit. Taishan smiled warmly, making people feel like they were bathing in the spring breeze. Lu Yi didn't stand on ceremony and sat across from him in a carefree manner. The first time he saw Taishan, he was still young. This chapter is not finished. Chapter 1103. Mysterious seeing Taishan after all. He was only a 5th-order True Lake Realm cultivator at that time, but now he was a 4th-order Divine Sea Realm cultivator. His cultivation had crossed an entire great realm. Moreover, he had seen dozens of cultivators stronger than Taishan and had been trained by them for several months. Lu Yi could now be considered an experienced and knowledgeable person. It could be said that in the 9 states, there was no one who could move him in terms of power and influence. Moreover, Taishan was not an overbearing person. He had always given off a warm and amiable feeling. Yu Daiwei sat quietly to the side and took out a tea set to boil tea. Little friend, why are you looking for me? As the tea fragrance filled the air, Taishan looked at Lu Yi with a smile. No matter what Lu Yi wanted from him, for him, Lu Yi taking the initiative to contact him was what he wanted to see the most. Their last contact had left a deep impression on Taishan, and he had a general understanding of Lu Ye's character. Therefore, he knew that if he wanted Lu Yi to submit, force would not work. He could only persuade him with reason, move him with emotion and plot slowly. The current situation in the 9 states was a good opportunity for him. As long as he could solve the problem of the insect plague, he could set off a wave of momentum and let the name of primal chaos spread throughout the 9 states, attracting people to join him. He had prepared everything. Now, all he needed was Lu Ye's nod, and the 3rd faction, Primal Chaos, would appear out of nowhere and clear the calamities of the 9 states. At that time, whether it was Primal Chaos or Lu Yi, they would become the saviors of the 9 states. With such kindness, would there be any need to worry about Primal Chaos not being able to carry forward? Please enter com in your browser to view. Chapter 1103. Mysterious Seeing Taishan. Chapter 1104. At that time, Lu Yi would stand in front of the stage while he would hide behind the scenes. The 2 sides would work together to gradually erode the power of Haotian Alliance and One More Ridge. One day, there would only be 1 camp left in the 9 regions. At that time, there would be no more confrontations between the 2 camps, and there would be no more endless battles and killings. For this goal, he had concealed his identity and prepared for decades. Now Lu Yi, a person who was favored by the heavens, had appeared. It could be said that the time, place, and people were all right. Everything was complete except for the east wind. While Taishan was thinking about it, Lu Yi was also pondering. He was thinking about how to lay his cards on the table with Taishan. He didn't have that much patience and time. He wasn't good at schemes and tricks. His experience and knowledge in the blood-refining world were his unique advantages. Therefore, some things were better to be straightforward, just like the strategy he used to deal with Yu Huajin. Therefore he said, "Senior brother Taishan, please excuse me." Taishan looked at him with a puzzled face. He didn't know why Lu Yi suddenly called him senior brother. Such a title was not to be casually called, especially under the premise that his subordinate Yu Daiwei had once captured Lu Yi alive and detained him in a small secret realm for several months. Lu Yi stared at him with burning eyes and said calmly, "There is a birthmark the size of a fingernail on your left buttocks near the waist. There are 3 hairs on it, 1 long and 2 short. The longer one is darker in color." The smile on Taishan's face suddenly became stiff, and the corner of his eyes twitched visibly. From Yu Daiwei, who was quietly brewing tea, couldn't help but raise her head. Her eyes widened as she looked at Lu Yi. She instinctively felt that Lu Yi was talking nonsense, but it was a little unusual for him to talk so much. She turned her head to look at Taishan with a look of inquiry. If she didn't have enough willpower, she was afraid that she would ask if it was true. Taishan noticed her gaze and turned to stare at her. Yu Daiwei quickly lowered her head and continued to brew tea. She looked down, but in fact, her ears were almost pricked up. Her curiosity was burning. "What are you talking about, little friend?" Taishan frowned. The way this conversation unfolded was completely different from what he had expected. In his mind, Lu Yi might come here to ask him about some more secretive matters, or perhaps ask about the mysteries of the disc. He had already thought of many excuses, so he wouldn't hide too much from Lu Yi, because he felt that. Why right now, Lu Yi had enough qualifications, but the moment Lu Yi opened his mouth, Taishan. Lu Yi continued to expose him. "Senior brother has a sword wound under your third rib. You were injured by an 8th order divine sword cultivator when you were 30. Senior brother once liked a woman named Mei but that woman thought that senior brother's appearance was mediocre and his background was ordinary, so she didn't take a fancy to senior brother. In the end, she followed a handsome disciple of a great sect. As a result, they both died in a great battle. Senior brother was sad for a long time, and even shed tears. So after that, senior apprentice brother didn't like those young and inexperienced girls anymore. Senior apprentice brother prefers more mature women who are more charming." Yu Daiwei, who had been listening attentively, quickly straightened her body, intentionally or unintentionally revealing a myriad of amorous feelings. Also, senior brother's alcohol tolerance is bad. If he doesn't use his spirit chi to dissolve the alcohol, he will get drunk after a single pot. Every time he drinks too much, he likes to brag, and then find someone to fight. After the fight, he will find a random place to lie down. Once, senior brother accidentally entered a farmhouse and was picked up by a widowed woman. "Enough!" Taishan quickly interrupted Lu Yi, the corners of his eyes twitching. He really didn't dare let him continue. If he did, he would lose all prestige in front of his subordinates. He snorted coldly. "I really didn't know that Nian Yuxian is a gossipy woman who likes to gossip behind people's backs." Lu Yi looked at him calmly. "Senior brother thinks that senior sister Nian told me these things. Otherwise, senior brother really thinks that senior sister Nian knows so many secrets? I have worked with her for many years, and we are like siblings. What does she not know?" Although he said so, he still had some doubts. It wasn't strange for Nian Yuxian to know ordinary secrets. After all, they had been together for so many years. But how could Nian Yuxian know the length of the hair on his birthmark? Other than himself, only one other person knew about this kind of thing. This chapter is not finished. Chapter 1104. Secret after a great battle. When the blood was washed away in the river, that person even reached out and plucked those 3 hairs. When he thought of this, his heart trembled, and he looked at Lu Yi in disbelief. Lu Yi said lightly, "It seems that senior brother has some guesses." Taishan's expression changed, and his aura began to fluctuate. Yu Daiwei's expression also became serious. She had never seen her lord like this. "Impossible!" Taishan shouted in a low voice. "Everyone who knows senior brother thinks that you have been dead for many years, but in fact senior brother is still alive and well. Senior brother can fake his death to escape. Why can't others do the same? I buried his bones with my own hands." Taishan stared at Lu Yi. Lu Yi said, "Then senior brother, do you know how I know your name? I have never mentioned you in front of senior sister Nian." As he said this, he slowly stood up and walked in front of the Dao soldier. He raised his hand and pointed at the Dao soldier's heart. Yu Daiwei said warily, "What are you doing?" Lu Yi said, "The refining method of this kind of Dao soldier is flawed, so the Dao soldier refined has very low intelligence. And if there is a special method, it is very easy to make them like this." With a push of spiritual power, the Dao soldier suddenly closed his eyes and fell to the ground softly. He snored and fell into a deep sleep. Taishan watched quietly. Even someone as calm as him was extremely chaotic at this moment. This was because he suddenly realized that something that he thought was impossible seemed to be the truth. This made him really incredulous. "Senior brother, if you still don't believe me, I can swear on the heavenly secret oath." Lu Yi sat back down again. Taishan didn't say anything. He tried to calm the chaos in his mind. After a long while he said, Do you think that the heavenly secret oath still has the ability to restrain you? Lu Yi frowned. Senior brother, what do you mean? The heavenly secret claims to be fair and just, but in fact, it is also biased. Especially for people like you who are favored by the heavenly secret, there will always be tolerance. If you don't believe me, you can try. If he didn't say it, Lu Yi didn't care too much. Now that he said it, Lu Yi remembered something. When he swore the heavenly secret oath in front of Yu Daiwei, he did not feel the restraint of the heavenly secret oath. He turned to look at Yu Daiwei and said, Jade Blood Sect's Lu Yi respectfully requests the heavenly secret oath to bear witness. This disciple likes this woman very much. If I dislike her in the slightest, may I be struck by lightning. After waiting for a moment, there was nothing unusual. Yu Daiwei looked at him with her eyes. Lu Yi showed a troubled expression. I originally wanted to swear on the heavenly secret oath to gain senior brother's trust. But now it seems that this method doesn't seem to work. I don't know how to make senior brother believe me. I believe Lu Yi raised his eyebrows and looked at him with some surprise. Taishan said, In this world, only he and I know the refining method of Dao soldiers. It could also be that I obtained some handwritten notes, or something that was passed down. Taishan shook his head slowly. He wouldn't be so bored as to record these things. He looked up at Lu Yi. He is really still alive. Lu Yi nodded. He is alive and well. Taishan showed a puzzled expression. If a person like him is still alive, how could the Jade Blood Sect be so lonely? How could he not stir up the storm all these years? Because he is no longer in the 9 regions. If he is not in the 9 regions, then where is he? A region called the Blood Refining Realm. Lu Yi picked up the tea in front of him and took a sip. Senior brother, have you ever thought about why I lost contact with you for more than 2 years after I was detained in that small secret realm? Where did I go during that time? You went to the Blood Refining Realm. Taishan sensed something. Lu Yi nodded. When I was detained in the small secret realm that day, Dao 13 was guarding the entrance of the secret realm. I had no way to escape, so I thought of a way to break the foundation of the secret realm. Originally, I thought that after the secret realm collapsed, I would be able to escape. Who knew that when the secret realm collapsed, I did not return to the 9 regions. Instead, I was sent to the Blood Refining Realm. The situation of the Blood Refining Realm appeared in front of Taishan as Lu Yi explained. He heard Feng Wujiang raising the banner there and creating a pure land for the human race. In the pure land, even the dozens of old seniors who had been famous for a long time were under his command. Taishan couldn't help but laugh out loud, revealing a gratified expression, as if he was worthy of being called Taishan. He even had a trace of fascination when he heard that the human race lived a hard life in the Blood Refining Realm, and that the Jade Blood Holy Land had to be besieged by the blood race every few years. His expression became solemn. Yu Daiwei was even more dumbfounded. Her cultivation was indeed higher than Lu Ye's, and she was more knowledgeable. This chapter is not finished. Chapter 1104. Blood Refining Realm Secret. There were many, but she had never experienced anything as bizarre as Lu Ye's. She finally understood why His Excellency had chosen Lu Ye. For someone like him who was favored by the heavens, the things he had experienced were unimaginable for ordinary people. When a lot of information about an entire realm was presented in front of Taishan, the last bit of doubt in his heart disappeared. What Lu Yi said was too bizarre, but after careful investigation, there were no flaws. Lu Yi wouldn't deliberately fabricate such a realm just to deceive him. Without personal experience, these things couldn't be fabricated. After a long time, Lu Yi finished talking about the Blood Refining Realm. Taishan keenly sensed the problem. As you said, the blood race's encirclement will continue, but the Jade Blood Holy Land's outer defense line has been broken. Won't it be very dangerous when the blood race attacks next time? That's right. So I have to rush back before the blood race encircles the Jade Blood Holy Land. Moreover, I have to bring a group of people back. The Jade Blood Holy Land doesn't lack top combat power, but they lack numbers. So Senior Martial Brother Taishan, if you still remember your past friendship with my eldest Senior Martial Brother, I want to ask you for help. Essence // first update of Book Pavilion, please enter m. Com. To view the latest update. Chapter 1104. Blood Refining Realm Secret. Chapter 1105. Lu Yi had also considered whether he should report the matter of the Blood Refinement Realm to Grand Sky City, so that Grand Sky City could organize manpower. If that was really the case, it would save him a lot of trouble. However, this was ultimately a matter of another realm, and Grand Sky Alliance might not be willing to interfere. Mobilizing troops from one realm and going on an expedition to another realm was extremely dangerous, and there might not be many benefits to be gained. It was very difficult to form a large-scale organization. This was different from the last time, when the cultivators of the 9 states had killed their way into the Peerless Continent. At that time, the Peerless Continent had already been enveloped by Tianji of the 9 states, and cultivators could obtain military merits by killing enemies there. Moreover, the battles on the Peerless Continent were only limited to the Cloud River tier, and the cultivators were very active. Update without error at thus. If Lu Yi really wanted to bring helpers over, he could only think of a way himself. Taishan's side was undoubtedly a very good choice. Lu Yi did not know how powerful the forces under Taishan's command were, but from the few interactions he had, Taishan's tentacles might not have reached the upper echelons of the 2 great camps, but the forces he secretly controlled were definitely not weak. Otherwise, he would not have the intention to establish a 3rd camp. Since he had this determination and courage, then he should have a corresponding foundation. If he could agree to this matter, when the time came, he would be able to secretly mobilize people, and the number of people he could bring over would definitely not be small. When? Taishan asked. Lu Yi shook his head. I'm not sure, but I know that I will definitely be summoned by Tianji again. This was a vague feeling. After all, Tianji could not just send him to the Blood Refinement Realm for no reason, and leave him alone after seeing the suffering of the people there, and the Jade Blood Holy Land on the verge of collapse. If that was the case, then his trip to the Blood Refinement Realm last time would be a dry joke, and Tianji would not do such a useless thing. He believed that Tianji sent him over last time with a deeper meaning. Thus, when the time was right, he would definitely have a chance to return to the Blood Refinement Realm. This was something that Lu Yi firmly believed ever since he returned from the Blood Refinement Realm. I can agree to this matter, but you have to promise me one thing. Lu Yi sighed and said, what senior brother Taishan mentioned, my eldest senior brother also told me that the 3rd camp isn't reliable. Since ancient times, the Haotian Alliance and Wanhua Ridge have been opposing each other for thousands of years. Such a situation is deeply rooted in people's hearts. Even if senior brother really creates a 3rd camp, it will only make the situation more chaotic. Back then, eldest senior brother also had such thoughts, but he gave it up in the end. That's why he handed that thing over to someone else for safekeeping. Eldest senior brother said that he understands your painstaking efforts and original intentions, but he still hopes that you can temporarily give up this idea. The situation in the 9 regions is already worrying enough, but at least it's clear now. If you still want to do so, you can make a decision after you go to the Blood Refining World and talk to him. If you still want to do so, he won't stop you anymore. Instead, he will help you. Taishan suddenly smiled. From the looks of it, he is still alive. Ah! Lu Yi frowned and looked at him. He immediately reacted. Taishan had never fully believed him, but when he told him about the token to establish a 3rd camp, he truly believed him. Because even eldest senior brother's wife, who kept it, was not clear about the function of the token, and thought Moon Immortal was also not clear about it. As for Lu Yi, if eldest senior brother did not personally say it, Lu Yi would not dare to believe that there was such a strange thing in this world. Today, I came here mainly to tell senior brother about this. Senior brother can think about it quietly. If you have a decision, just let senior sister you send me a message. Yu Daiwei was in a trance. Originally, under Lu Ye's request, she brought him to see his honor. She thought that this trip would achieve his honor's wish no matter what. Who knew that after a conversation, they seemed to have turned from enemies to friends. He even called her senior sister Yu. It made her feel embarrassed. In addition, the current situation in 9 states is unstable, and the common people are suffering. I ask senior brother Taishan to be merciful and not easily stir up the situation. Taishan laughed. In your opinion, what kind of person am I? Lu Yi told the truth. In order to achieve my goal, some people will do anything. Taishan seemed to have not expected Lu Yi to have such an evaluation. After pondering for a moment, he nodded and said, It seems that what you said is not wrong. But to be honest, I hate conspiracies and tricks the most. And I also hate those who live behind the scenes and play tricks the most. When I followed your eldest senior brother, I didn't have to care about anything. I just needed to let go of my shoulders and do it. Wherever your eldest senior brother pointed, I would lead the army to fight. However, people will always change. Different environments, different responses. I didn't expect that such days would come back one day. Lu Yi, you underestimate me. What I just asked you to promise is not about the creation of primal chaos. But when you return to the blood-refining realm, I will follow you. I want to see with my own eyes whether what you said is true or false. If it's true, I'll thank you. If it's false, I'll kill you. Even if you're Wu Zhang's junior brother in name, I won't show any mercy. Lu Yi nodded, no problem. When the time comes, senior brother won't be able to slack off even if he wants to. Taishan stretched out his hand to him and looked at him with burning eyes. The heavenly secret oath is useless to you, so I won't make you swear. I look forward to that day. Lu Yi raised his hand and clasped his hands together, his voice calm and firm. That day will come, and it won't be long. Yu Daiwei watched quietly from the side. Even though she was already an 8th Order Divine Sea Realm cultivator, and even though she wasn't young, she still couldn't understand how men got along with each other. However, she understood one thing. Lu Yi's visit this time seemed to have taken care of her sex Sir. And Sir seemed to be quite willing to be taken care of by him, and was even looking forward to it. What kind of charisma did this character, who had stirred up a great storm in the 9 provinces in the past, have that even senior fell head over heels for him? She was suddenly looking forward to it. Since you call me senior brother, I don't have anything good to give you, so consider this a meeting gift. Taishan suddenly raised his hand and sent something flying towards Lu Yi. Lu Yi caught it and found that it was a wine jar. However, he wasn't naive enough to think that it was really just a jar of wine. Just as he was puzzled, Taishan threw him a jade slip and said slowly, The biggest problem in the current situation of the 9 provinces is how to solve the problem of the suppression of cultivators by the magnetic field deep underground. If this problem can be solved, then the cultivators of the 9 provinces can kill their way into the insect path, go deep underground, and solve the insect disaster from the source. Right now, all the major continents of the 9 provinces have sent out medical and alchemy elites to study this problem and have made some discoveries. For example, the insect blood of the insect race can slightly block the suppression of the magnetic field. But the effect is not great. What is recorded in the jade slip is a special method to refine the insect blood. The jar contains the refined insect blood. If this insect blood is smeared on the ground, it has a very obvious blocking effect on the magnetic field. I have had people try it. After smearing this insect blood and going deep underground, even if they reach the end of the insect path, they will still have about 60% of their strength left. Lu Yi was shocked. 60%? Taishan nodded his head. 60%. This was an astonishing ratio. Lu Yi had experience going deep into the insect path, so he clearly knew how terrifying the suppression was. He was a 3rd Order Divine Sea cultivator, but when he reached the end of the insect path, he would only have the strength of a spirit stream realm cultivator. Therefore, even if someone as strong as the headmaster was, the strength he could display in that kind of environment was not much stronger than his. However, if he had 60% of his strength left, the sect master would be able to display the strength of a divine sea realm cultivator. In this way, his ability to protect himself would be greatly increased. If he could find more masters at the sect master's level to join forces, he would have a chance to kill his way out of the insect path and into the insect race's great sealed world. At that time, as long as he blocked the entrance and stabilized his position, the army of the 9 provinces would follow closely behind. Lu Yi immediately understood the importance of this jar of insect blood, and the refining method recorded in the jade slip. It could be said that in today's situation, these two things were simply the saviors of the 9 provinces. This was a pleasant surprise. He came to Tai Shan this time, just to lay his cards on the table, and appease him, while seeking some help to kill his way back to the blood-refining world. He never thought Tai Shan would actually give him such a great gift in the blink of an eye. Clearly, he had also realized that the current situation of the 9 provinces was detrimental to his plan to save the blood-refining world, which was why he was so eager to resolve the problem of the 9 provinces. Otherwise, it was impossible for him to take something like this out so easily. What puzzled Lu Yi was where this special refining method had come from. First update, as if he had seen through this, Tai Shan smiled. Don't underestimate the heritage of the 9 provinces. The refining method I obtained came from the research of a group of alchemists and medical cultivators in the Mist province. However, the most crucial results have been intercepted by my people, so the research over there has reached a bottleneck right now. However, I believe it won't be long before they can completely refine it. By then, they'll be able to come up with this refining method again. What he implied shocked Lu Yi, as this meant the forces under Tai Shan's command had already come into contact with the Mist province. If the Mist province was like this, what about the other provinces? First update, at the Shadow Stone I got Daiwei to send you before recorded the source of the insect plague. I have the complete recording here. I'll give it to you later. Lu Yi was rather embarrassed. I won't lie to senior brother. Actually, I've been to that great secret realm. Tai Shan looked at him in surprise, but he came to a realization very soon. No wonder you're not interested in those effects at all. So you've already been there. He had already been to the secret realm in person, so he obviously would not be interested in the recordings there. If someone else had said that, Tai Shan would have refused to believe it so easily. But since it came from Lu Yi, there was no room for doubt. People who were favored by the heavenly secrets of this generation could always do things that regular people could not, and they would receive the mysterious protection of the heavenly secrets when they did things. Take what happened today as an example. Lu Yi had chosen this time to find him, discussing many secrets with him, and he had given him the refining method for the insect's blood. Was that not a form of guidance from the heavenly secrets? Please enter embark in your browser to view it. Chapter 1106. Originally, Lu Yi planned to return to his sect after meeting Tai Shan. After all, it was just nearby. He missed his second senior sister and master, after not seeing them for a long time. However, after getting the jar of insect blood and the jade slip that recorded the special refining method, he could only extinguish the idea in his heart. He bid farewell to Tai Shan and hurried to Haotian City. The sooner he reported these things, the sooner 9 regions could organize people to attack the insect clan's secret realm and solve the problem of insect plague. The current problem in 9 regions was already very serious. Not only the problems that cultivators had to face, but also the problems that mortals had to face. The insect plague had been raging for several years, causing mortals to be unable to farm. Even if there was surplus food in previous years, it was almost consumed now. Every human gathering place was tightening their belts. If this situation continued, there would inevitably be a large number of mortals starving to death. At that time, the foundation of the cultivation world would be shaken. On the way, he sent a message to the hierarch and briefly explained. Half a day later, he arrived at Haotian City and went straight to the hierarch's small courtyard. The hierarch was waiting. Lu Yi presented the insect blood and the jade slip, and the hierarch carefully examined them. After a while he asked, "Did Tai Shan give you these?" "Yes." "That's strange. Why did he suddenly change his temperament?" The hierarch was puzzled. Since Lu Yi told him some things about Tai Shan last time, the hierarch had been secretly investigating Tai Shan and the Chaos Organization. However, because Tai Shan was very well hidden, there had been no practical results. The hierarch knew that under the current general situation of 9 regions, Such a hidden force was extremely unstable. If Taishan continued to be dormant, it would be fine. If he suddenly rose up, it would only make the situation in 9 regions more chaotic. Extremely unstable. If Taishan continued to be dormant, it would be fine. If he suddenly rose up, it would only make the situation in 9 regions more chaotic. Moreover, for Taishan's scheme, the more chaotic the situation in 9 regions was, the more advantageous it would be for him. Because only in chaos would people seek change. Unexpectedly, he took the initiative to give such important things to Lu Yi. In the current situation, these 2 things were really important. I told him about the blood refinement realm and eldest senior brother. In fact, when I returned from the blood refinement realm, eldest senior brother had some instructions for Mount Tai. I talked to him in detail, and it could be said that I persuaded him. The sect leader understood. He admires your eldest martial brother very much. He probably listens to your eldest martial brother's words. That makes sense. Headmaster, Taishan doesn't wish to reveal his existence. Therefore, I'm afraid that the source of these 2 items will fall on this disciple's head. This was also what Taishan had specifically instructed Lu Yi before he left. Lu Yi could understand Taishan's advice. He believed everything Lu Yi had said but not all of it. Therefore, he still had to be prepared for the possibility that Lu Yi had lied to him. Without the blood refinement realm, Feng Wujiang would have died long ago. If that was the case, then he would still have to carry out his original plan, which was to build momentum for Lu Yi in advance. The special extraction method of insect blood was simply a life-saving straw for the current 9 provinces. At such a critical moment, anyone who took out this item would be the benefactor of the entire 9 provinces and would receive great prestige. Of course, from Lu Ye's point of view, Taishan's action was meaningless. The blood refinement realm did exist, and eldest senior brother was still alive. However, since this was Taishan's request, there was no harm in agreeing. The sect leader pondered for a moment. That's fine too. Compared to the great merit of infiltrating the insect race's great secret realm, this merit was undoubtedly greater. Last time, the sect leader had taken away the merit with the intention of protecting Lu Yi. After all, so many top experts had failed to enter the insect race's great secret realm. But Lu Yi, who had just advanced, had entered. It was hard to guarantee that some people wouldn't be afraid of Lu Yi. However, the situation this time was different. This was not only a great merit, but also a great kindness. If the insect blood refined by the special method was really useful and could help the 9 provinces solve the insect disaster, then all the cultivators, and even mortals in the 9 provinces, would owe Lu Yi a favor. At that time, who would dare to harm him? That would be committing a crime against the whole world. And the people of the 9 provinces would poke at him together. After an incense stick's worth of time, Lu Yi left Haoyan City and leisurely flew to Shocking Waves Lake Pass. This trip to take the initiative to contact Taishan for a detailed discussion was undoubtedly a very wise decision, and it also eased his heavy mood a lot. What he had to do now was very simple. He just needed to wait. Whether the insect blood was useful or not, the sect leader needed to personally try it. After all, without practice, it would not be persuasive. If it was really useful, the sect leader would convene a meeting to discuss the next action plan. For the time being, Lu Yi could not participate in such high-level meetings, nor did he bother to participate. In some ways, his mentality was somewhat similar to Taishan's. He was more used to following orders, or doing things according to his whims. He was not the kind of person who would make decisions. The following days passed by peacefully. At Shocking Waves Lake Pass, Lu Yi cultivated in seclusion, while refining explosive fire spirit stones and twin chi linking array discs. It had been a month since he broke through to the 4th order. Under the cultivation environment of the 9 provinces, coupled with his special cultivation method, his cultivation speed was very fast. Now he could basically maintain the speed of advancing 1 realm every few months. With the improvement of his cultivation, the efficiency of refining also increased. Coupled with the fact that he was refining with his clone, the production of explosive fire spirit stones and array discs had greatly increased compared to before. Half a month later, the sect leader sent a message. The insect blood was useful, and as Tai Shan said, even if a cultivator reached the deepest part of the insect path, they could still maintain 60% of their combat strength. This time, the sect leader reached the end of the insect path and saw the door that Lu Yi had seen before. However, he did not rush in rashly, because there were countless insects in the insect race's great sealed world. If he really rushed in rashly, it would be difficult for him to do anything alone. On the contrary, he would easily put himself in danger. Therefore, after reaching the end of the insect path and seeing the door to the insect race's great sealed world, the sect leader immediately turned back. He urgently gathered people and held a meeting. At the meeting, he took out the remaining half jar of insect blood and the jade slip that recorded the special refining method, which shocked many higher-ups of the military province's Grand Heaven Alliance. With his personal experience and experiments, his words were undoubtedly very persuasive. Everyone realized that this was an important turning point in the fight against the insect plague in the 9 provinces. The military province had already shared the refining method with the other 8 provinces, without hiding anything. They even told the Myriad Demons Ridge about it. This was not a matter of the Grand Heaven Alliance alone. This was a problem that the entire 9 provinces had to face, so the Myriad Demon Ridge had to contribute. Now what the 9 provinces cultivation world needed to do was to refine as much insect blood as possible. Once they had enough reserves, they could mobilize all their forces and kill their way into the insect race's great sealed world. As for the source of the special refining method, the sect leader, as requested by Wuxia, pushed all the blame to him. Such a great contribution from the military province made the higher-ups of the military province radiant. Some people did not understand how Wuxia, a newly advanced Divine Sea Realm soldier cultivator, came up with this refining method. However, compared to the appearance of the refining method itself, these were minor details. There was no need to delve too deeply into it. Everyone had their own opportunities. After all, Wuxia was a person who was favored by God. Even if he said that he picked it up from the roadside, who could verify it? It was also at this moment that the 2 camps officially entered the period of large-scale cooperation. This was a major change with epoch-making significance. It had been 2,000 to 3,000 years since the emergence of the 2 camps. They had always been in constant confrontation and disputes. This was the first time that they had sincerely cooperated. It was destined to leave a strong mark in the history of the 9 provinces. Since they were working together, they naturally should not hide anything. Therefore, the Myriad Demon Ridge took the opportunity to request the Grand Heaven Alliance to share the twin spirit-connected formation plate. The Myriad Demon Ridge had been drooling over this thing for a long time. Although they tried to get some formation plates from the Grand Heaven Alliance to study, they awkwardly found that no one could mass-produce it. At present, the matter of the 9 regions cultivation world's counterattack on the insect race's great secret realm was in full swing. For the cultivators living in 9 regions, no matter which camp they came from, fighting against the insect race was an inescapable duty. The Myriad Demon Ridge's intention was obvious. They could contribute and cooperate with the Grand Heaven Alliance sincerely. After all, they were both maintaining the stability of the 9 provinces. However, if they wanted the horse to run, they had to feed the horse well. The Myriad Demon Ridge would send out as many formation plates as the Grand Heaven Alliance could provide. If the Grand Heaven Alliance could provide a large number of formation plates, the entire Myriad Demon Ridge, from the Divine Sea Realm to the Spirit Stream Realm, would definitely send out all their forces. It was reasonable for the Myriad Demon Ridge to make such a request. Among them, this was because everyone knew that once the problem of the insect plague was solved, the relationship between the 2 camps would return to how it was before. By then, the Grand Heaven Alliance would have the help of the formation plates while the Myriad Demon Ridge did not. They would definitely be at a disadvantage in the confrontation. This was a rare opportunity. If they did not get some benefits from the Grand Heaven Alliance, they would not get another chance. This was their only chance to obtain such a strategic resource in large quantities. The Hautian alliance also knew that it was hard to reject the request of the Myriad Demon's Ridge. If they really wanted to reject it, they couldn't possibly let the Hautian alliance deal with the insect disaster alone. It didn't make sense. The 9 prefectures belonged to everyone, not the Hautian alliance. How to give and how much to give were the problems that the Grand Heaven Alliance had to face now. Of course, the pressure was mainly on the Force Province, because the formation plates came from the Force Province. Currently, the higher-ups of the 2 camps were arguing. However, it was foreseeable that once the preparation for the counterattack against the Insect Clan's Mystery Realm was completed, the argument would instantly reach a satisfactory result. Currently, all kinds of news were spreading in the 9 provinces. At the same time, the Jade Blood Sect's Wuxia's name was known throughout the 9 provinces. He was the refiner of the Twin Chi-connected formation plate, the scout of the Insect Clan's Mystery Realm, and the discoverer of the insect blood extraction method. Regardless of which of the 3 contributions, it was enough to make one famous. With the 3 contributions, even though Wuxia was only at the Spirit Stream realm, it was enough for him to become the most dazzling person in the world. Not to mention that he was already at the Divine Sea realm. Please enter embark to view the latest update. Chapter 1107. The sect master's message was mainly to ask Lu Yi what reward he wanted. After such a huge contribution, the Grand Sky Alliance had to express their gratitude. If they didn't do anything, they would be disappointed. Rewards? Lu Yi thought for a moment. What exactly did he lack? Ordinary cultivators might lack battle credit or merit points, but Lu Yi didn't lack either of those things. He had long since accumulated several million battle credits, and was on his way to reaching the 10,000 mark. No one would believe him if he said it out loud. Based on his current accumulation of military merits, if he were to go to the Department of Official Affairs for a promotion, not to mention a protector, he would probably even be able to become a battalion commander. However, Lu Ye's requirements for military ranks were not high, so he was too lazy to get one. Even if he were to be promoted, it would only increase his monthly salary by a bit. Then fire spirit stones and demonic beast cores, especially poison pills. Lu Yi made his own request. Although he could obtain a certain percentage by refining explosive fire spirit rocks, the talent tree was a bottomless pit. No matter how many explosive fire spirit rocks there were, it would devour them all. There was nothing wrong with storing a little more. Moreover, he felt that his talent tree was going to change again. Because during this period of time, his talent tree had swallowed many fire spirit stones, but there were no signs of new spiritual patterns being activated. As for the demonic beast core, it was mainly prepared for Hu Pe. The poison pills were left for Wuxia. This woman left the Cloudy River battlefield and didn't have a suitable cultivation environment. Giving her more poison pills would allow her to grow faster. Just as he finished his message with the sect master, Wei Ling reacted again. Lu Yi checked and realized that it was an order from the Heaven's Gate. They were told to collect bug blood from True Lake stage and above. This was obviously to prepare the raw materials for refining bug blood. It wasn't a troublesome matter. At the fissures, the cultivators at the 2 mountain passes had been killing bugs. It wasn't a problem for them to collect some bugs. Moreover, this order wasn't just sent to this side. All the mountain passes at the front line must have received the order as well. However, there were requirements for collecting bug blood. Normal bug blood wasn't of much use as its quality was too low. It couldn't be refined into anything valuable. Only bug blood from True Lake stage and above could be used as raw materials. If it was from Divine Ocean stage, the effect would naturally be better. Lu Yi passed the order to the fishers and didn't interfere. He continued to cultivate. The entire 9 regions had entered a state of intense preparation. All the cultivators were waiting for the critical moment to arrive. Under such an atmosphere, the 9 regions showed a different style. Even those mortals who didn't cultivate were aware of some subtle changes. The insect disaster had swept through the 9 regions for more than 3 years, causing the people in the entire territory to have no way to make a living. Although there were cultivators protecting the mortals, and there were not too many casualties, In these 3 years, no one could see any hope. No one knew when these days would end. But now it was different. The cultivators all understood that the matter of counterattacking the insect race's secret realm had been put on the agenda. It wouldn't be long before this kind of suffering would end, and the 9 regions would return to its previous state. The night breeze blew gently as Lu Yi walked out of the cultivation room. There is no moon tonight, and the sky is full of stars. He was not a person who could cultivate in seclusion for a long time. He was still too young, and could not endure that kind of temperament. Therefore, every time he was in seclusion for a period of time, he would casually come out for a walk to relax. When it came to cultivation, it was all about being relaxed. His cultivation speed was already very fast. If he had a more comfortable mood, he would be able to cultivate better. Not far away, there was a conversation between 2 people. They were the cultivators in charge of guarding the city wall of the mountain pass. They seemed to be arguing about something. There were only more than 50 cultivators standing guard at the mountain pass. However, because Lu Yi basically lived in seclusion, and came and went with the help of the teleportation array, he did not have much contact with the soldiers under his command. The only people he was familiar with were Yu Huang and a few others. His figure flashed and flew to the 2 people's side. The 2 cultivators were startled. After seeing Lu Ye's figure clearly, they hurriedly saluted. "Sir." Lu Yi responded with his hands behind his back and asked curiously, "What are you arguing about?" One of them said, "Sir, it's like this. Xiao Lu said that there is an extra star in the sky. I said that there are so many stars in the sky. How can you be sure that there is an extra star?" He then argued with me. "There is an extra star." Lu Yi raised his head and looked at the sky. The other younger cultivator, Xiao Lu, blushed and said, "There really is an extra star. Sir, I am on duty here every night. When I have nothing to do, I just look at the stars. Although I don't know how many stars there are in the sky, I can still tell if there is an extra star or less." "Where?" Lu Yi asked curiously. Xiao Lu pointed in a direction and said, "Sir, look over here. There should only be 17 stars here, but now there is an extra star. I vaguely noticed it a few days ago, but I wasn't too sure at the time. Looking at it again today, this extra star is obviously brighter." Lu Yi looked in the direction of his finger and found that there were indeed 18 stars there. However, he was not sure which one was extra. However, he could not say anything about this kind of thing. Moreover, the number of stars was related to the observation environment. Perhaps Xiao Lu did not notice it before, or perhaps the star was covered by clouds. Both were possible. Either way, the cultivators on duty were extremely bored and wanted to find something to do. Without looking around, he said, "You can quarrel, but don't hurt the harmony." "Sir, don't worry. We are all as close as brothers. We are used to quarreling. Please don't laugh at us," the older cultivator said. Lu Yi nodded slightly and headed towards the heavenly secret hall in a flash. Teleporting, he went to the fissure to investigate. After more than 2 hours, he came back and relaxed his muscles and bones in the fissure. He killed some insects and started cultivating again. The preparation of the 9 prefectures took 3 months. This could not be helped because they needed to gather enough insect blood. This was not something that could be gathered in a short time. When the insect blood reserve reached the requirement, the counterattack on the insect race's great secret realm was immediately put on the agenda. Lu Yi was summoned and rushed to Haotian City from the Shocking Waves Lake. When he arrived at the sect master's courtyard, the sect master was waiting for him. Lu Yi was puzzled. "With my cultivation level, why do I have to attend the meeting?" On the way here, he had asked the hierarch and learned that it was Pang Zhen who asked him to attend the meeting. The meeting had always been a meeting of the highest level of the Haotian Alliance in the military state. Only the hierarch who was in the elder group, or the head of a department like Qian Wudong, was qualified to attend. Ordinary 8th or 9th order Divine Sea Realm cultivators are not qualified to attend, but Lu Yi, a 4th order Divine Sea Realm cultivator, was called. He could not help but feel flattered. The sect master led him to the Light Harmony Hall while explaining, "Because you have once entered the insect race's great secret realm, you know the situation inside the best. Although you brought back images, It is not as real as seeing it with your own eyes, so you need to make some explanations. In addition, you may need to be the vanguard. Of course, no one will force you to do this. You can consider whether to accept or not. Vanguard. Lu Yi frowned. It was not easy to be a vanguard, especially for such a large-scale operation. What does the sect master mean? The sect master was silent for a moment. If you can guarantee your own safety, you can accept this. But if you can't, you can refuse directly. There is no reason to let a young man like you take on too much responsibility. Lu Yi nodded slightly. Following the sect master to the Light Harmony Hall, Lu Yi stepped inside. In an instant, all eyes were on him. One had to know that those sitting here were the highest-level figures of the War Province's Grand Heaven Alliance. All of them were Ninth-Order Divine Sea Realm cultivators, and there were only a dozen of them in total. They were the leaders of the War Province's Grand Heaven Alliance. It could be said that their words and actions determined the overall direction of the War Province's Grand Heaven Alliance. Some people looked at him with scrutinizing eyes, some with interest, and some with obvious admiration. Lu Yi followed closely behind the hierarch and came to the side of the table. The hierarch sat down and gestured, "You sit too." Lu Yi obediently sat down beside him. Suddenly the battlefield mark moved. Lu Yi quietly checked it and found that it was Gan Wudong who sent him a message. "Don't be so nervous. One day, you will be able to walk in here by yourself." Looking up, Lu Yi saw Gan Wudong smiling at him across the table. Lu Yi pretended not to see him and did not reply. At the head of the table, Pang Jun knocked on the table. "Everyone is here. I want to announce something. After the high-level discussions of the two camps, we will launch a full-scale counterattack on the insect race's great secret realm in 3 days." Everyone had obviously received this news from different sources. Therefore, there was not much of a reaction. Now that everyone was gathered, they needed to discuss the specific operation. This was a large-scale operation that involved the entire 9 states. What kind of people were qualified to participate, how many people each side would send, and how the personnel would be distributed would all need to be carefully considered. They couldn't just send out an order and have everyone rush forward. That would only cause chaos. Because of the limited scale of the insect path, only cultivators above the True Lake realm were allowed to participate in the counterattack. Those below the True Lake realm were not allowed to participate, not only because of the limited scale of the insect path, but also because of their strength. The insect race's great secret realm was filled with danger. Those with low strength would only cause more trouble and casualties. In such an environment, only cultivators above the True Lake realm could play a role. With this requirement, 90% of the 9 states' cultivators would be excluded. However, the number of cultivators in the 9 states was huge. Even if only cultivators above the True Lake realm were allowed to participate, they would still be able to gather a huge number of people to deal with the insect race's great secret realm. Although the time had been set, how to maintain the unity of the operation was still a problem. Therefore, when the time came, the cultivators from the 9 states would need to enter from different cracks in the ground. They would need to maintain contact and advance simultaneously. Then, they would continue to converge and reach the door at the end of the insect path. Then, they would gather outside the 9 doors and attack the insect race's great secret realm together. Only then would they be able to sweep through the insect race's great secret realm. Chapter 1108. This was the main topic of discussion at the grand meeting this time. Lu Yi sat next to the sect leader and listened to the ministers and members of the elder group express their opinions and views before Pang Jun made the final decision. He realized that everyone was very brief and did not drag their feet when making decisions. This was probably the style of cultivators. Of course, it could also be that time was limited. The day of the counterattack was in 3 days, so the grand meeting could not be delayed for too long. After listening, Lu Yi had a general understanding of the plan for this operation. Now that the 9 provinces had enough reserves of insect blood that had been refined through special methods, although the suppression of the magnetic field on cultivators was still there, It could no longer stop the 9 provinces' cultivators from counterattacking. This counterattack on the insect clan's great secret realm was divided into 3 stages. The first stage was to kill their way into the insect path from the crack in the ground and push all the way to the door at the end of the insect path. This stage was not difficult. Even if they pushed to the end and the cultivators could only use 60% of their strength, as long as there were enough of them and they cooperated well, they could still gain a foothold in front of the door. Moreover, because the people who carried out this stage were all top-notch divine ocean cultivators, there would not be too many casualties. If they were lucky, they could even achieve 0 casualties. This stage would last for about 10 days. After all, it was a long journey from the crack in the ground to the door, so it could not be done in one go. Back then, Lu Yi hid on the back of the scarab and went deep into the insect clan's great secret realm. It took him a month to go back and forth. When the goal of the first stage was completed, it was time to prepare for the second stage. The time node was in front of the 9 doors. When the vanguard powerhouses of the 9 provinces had gathered, the powerhouses of the 9 provinces would rush into the insect clan's great secret realm and attack the 9 doors. There was only one goal, which was to gain a foothold in front of the door. It was impossible for the vanguard of the 9 provinces to wipe out the insect clan's great secret realm alone. No matter how strong they were, their numbers were limited. Therefore, their mission was to build a defense line in front of the door and resist the insect clan's counterattack. At that time, the reinforcements would be able to continuously enter the insect clan's great secret realm. It was impossible to estimate how long this phase would take, but it was undoubtedly the most dangerous phase. Once they entered the bug race's secret realm, the vanguard experts would have to fight nonstop. They could not retreat, as the door to reinforcements was right behind them. There was no way out, and they could not escape. The bug race's secret realm was filled with bug race members. Where could they escape to? He could only endure it. If he could resist, he would live. If he couldn't, he would die, or become a pirated dog. When the 9 prefectures' army passed through the 9 gates, all of them headed for the insect race. In the great mystery realm, they would enter the 3rd stage. 9 armies would attack the Zergs from 9 different directions and fight to the death. The plan was simple and clear. There were no tricks involved. After all, the opponent was an insectoid with low intelligence, so there was no need to play any tricks. Furthermore, the environment was limited, so there was no room for any tricks. What the 9 prefectures relied on was the huge number of cultivators and the endless number of powerhouses. They were confident that they would not lose in such a confrontation. You have all seen the interior of the insect race's great mystery realm before. You have studied it and have a certain understanding of the overall environment inside. However, seeing it doesn't mean that you have personally been there. Now, in the military province, there is only one person who has personally entered the insect race's great mystery realm. As Pang Jin spoke, he turned to look at Lu Yi. The rest of the people also looked over. Lu Yi, I called you here today because you have the experience of sneaking into the insect race's great mystery realm. I hope you can explain the scene in the Shadow Stone in detail. The sect master had already informed them of this matter on the way here. So Lu Yi stood up and bowed respectfully. Lu Yi greets everyone. Since Vice Alliance leader Pang has given his orders, this lowly one will naturally obey. Then I will have to delay everyone for a bit. The sect leader handed over a shadow stone. Lu Yi picked it up and poured his spiritual power into it. In an instant, the scene in the shadow stone appeared in front of everyone's eyes. Lu Yi looked at the scene a little and determined that it was the location when he first entered the insect race's great mystery realm. He then said, "Everyone, please take a look. This great mystery realm is basically not out of the scope of a sealed world space, which means it has an edge. The location of each portal is at the very edge, which is extremely advantageous for our operation, because as long as we stand firmly in front of the portal, we won't have to worry about danger from behind. We only need to deal with the top, the front, and the left and right." Although they had seen the scenes recorded in the image recording stone many times, they still listened attentively to Lu Ye's explanation. Some even asked questions. Lu Yi answered them one by one. The scene in the Shadow Stone could basically show the situation of the entire insect race's great mystery realm. Everyone was at the Ninth Order Divine Sea Realm, so after seeing the scene, they could basically picture the real situation in their minds. After about an incense stick worth of time, Lu Yi finished his explanation. Pang Jin said, "If you were to join the Vanguard Battalion and act as a vanguard to open a path for the army, would you be willing?" The sect master had also told him about this in advance, so Lu Yi immediately nodded. This subordinate is willing. A Fourth Order Divine Sea Realm cultivation wasn't weak, and he had many trump cards. What's more, his foundation was more solid than that of ordinary cultivators, so it wouldn't be a problem for him to be a vanguard. Moreover, he wasn't the only one in the Vanguard Battalion. When the time came, he would still need to act together with the other Vanguard Masters of the War Province, so it wouldn't be too dangerous. The sect master obviously understood this, so he didn't say anything definite, and just let Lu Yi act according to his wishes. This disciple of his was indeed young, but since he was at the Divine Sea Realm, he should have the responsibility of a Divine Sea Realm cultivator. If he retreated no matter what happened, he wouldn't have much success in the future. Throughout history, only those cultivators who faced difficulties head-on were able to go further than others. Very good. Then you will join the Vanguard Battalion. Pang Jin nodded with satisfaction. Lu Yi continued, "However, this subordinate has a proposal that I would like to ask everyone to decide." Everyone looked over with interest. Pang Jin smiled slightly. "What proposal? Let's hear it." After listening to the 3 stages of this operation, this subordinate felt that the early stage of the second stage was very dangerous. It wasn't easy to establish a foothold in front of the door and build a defensive line. When the time comes, there will be countless insect race swarming over. This subordinate was thinking that if we divert the insect race's attention at this time, we might be able to reduce the pressure in front of the door. Pang Jin nodded. "We have thought about this problem before, but we didn't have any clues. In fact, it would be the best choice to let Yanshi send out those creations. But unfortunately, Yanshi school has declined in the 9 continents, and there are very few Divine Sea Realm cultivators in Yanshi, so they can't be of much use. As for using the beast taming school to control monster beasts, it is even more impossible to talk about. First of all, monster beasts are flesh and blood. Once they appear in the insect race's secret realm, they will become the target of the insect race's attack. There is no way to divert the insect race's attention." Lu Yi asked, "What if we use the insect race?" "Insect race?" Pang Jin raised his eyebrows slightly. This subordinate has a method to control the insect race. Last time, we were able to sneak into the insect race's secret realm because of this method. Therefore, this subordinate is thinking that if I can control enough insect race and let them carry some explosive fire spirit stones, we can enter the insect race's secret realm one step ahead of the Vanguard Battalion and place them in various places. Once the explosive fire spirit stones are activated, it will attract the attention of a large number of insect race, and the Vanguard Battalion can take the opportunity to kill their way in. The time we can buy may not be much, but at that time, it will be worth it, and it will also be more convenient for the Vanguard Battalion to consolidate the front line. Pang Jun's expression brightened. "How many insect race can you control?" 100 or 200 shouldn't be a problem," Lu Yi replied casually. Of course, there should be no limit to this number. However, if this plan was to be carried out, it was impossible for him to control too many insect race. There was not enough time, and the insect path space was not big enough to be used. Everyone's eyes lit up when they heard this. Just imagine, 100 or 200 insect race, carrying explosive fire spirit stones, scattered in various parts of the insect race's secret realm. Once the explosive fire spirit stones were detonated, the spiritual energy would definitely be chaotic, and the situation would be chaotic. The insect race was extremely sensitive to spiritual energy fluctuations. When they felt the fluctuations, they would definitely be attracted. In this way, the pressure in front of the door would be reduced. At that time, They would not dare to say how much time they could buy. But even if it was just 1 or 2 breaths of time, it would be enough to prevent a certain degree of casualties. If they could hold on for more than 10 breaths of time, it would be a great help. This plan was very promising. What do you all think? Pang Jun turned his head to look at both sides. How could anyone have any opinions? If this could be done, they would be happy to see it happen. Naturally, they would not stop it. Instead, they would vigorously promote it. After quickly reaching an agreement, Lu Ye's proposal was passed. Then this matter is settled. I have already discussed with the Demon City. The location of the Vanguard camp will be at the crack between the Shocking Waves Lake Pass and the Dark Moon Forest Pass. Everyone, please spread the news. The people on the list of the Vanguard camp must gather at the designated location within 3 days. This is the first large-scale joint operation in the history of the War Province, and also the first in the history of the 9 provinces. This concerns the face of the War Province's Haotian alliance, so I hope everyone will be cautious. After the meeting ended, Lu Yi followed the head teacher out of the Light Harmony Hall. The head teacher said, "The war is imminent. Is there anything you need to prepare?" Lu Yi shook his head. There's nothing to prepare. All kinds of materials are available, so there's no need to buy anything. Then go back to the pass and prepare. The location of the gathering is there. You're also close. Yes. Lu Yi leaped up and flew toward the pass. The location of the Vanguard camp's gathering was at the crack between the Shocking Waves Lake Pass and the Dark Moon Forest Pass. It was unknown whether it was a coincidence or intentional, but for the War Province's 2 camps, the Shocking Waves Lake Pass and the Dark Moon Forest Pass were the first to join forces. It was quite representative of the 2 camps, so it was reasonable to choose this place. Chapter 1109. Of the 9 continents of the 9 states, the Haotian Alliance and the Myriad Demon Ridge each held 3. Aside from that, the Military Province, Tian Province, and Ding Province were territories that both sides fought over. Therefore, the Vanguard Battalion in Force Province was composed of the powerhouses from the 2 camps. Only in such a special period, and under such a special environment could such a grand event be seen. Normally, it was very rare to see such a grand event. On the 3rd day after returning to the mountain pass, Lu Yi pushed open the door of his palace and walked out before dawn. Hoopa crouched on his shoulder. Compared to more than a year ago, Hoopo's aura was much stronger. After cultivating for more than a year without stopping and swallowing a large number of monster cores, Hoopo's growth was extremely obvious. After all, it was a strange beast, and it also had Yi cultivating with it. Although its growth speed was not as fast as Lu Ye's, it was much faster than ordinary human cultivators. Although Hoopo was not yet at the level of a divine ocean realm monster, it was not far from it. To Lu Yi, as long as Hoopo was by his side during the battle, he could borrow its strength. Thus, it did not matter if Hoopo's strength was slightly lower. It was for this reason that Lu Yi brought Hoopo with him. The counterattack against the insect race's great secret realm was not a battle that could be accomplished overnight. Any bit of external help was extremely important. Looking up at the starry sky, there were still many stars. Today was undoubtedly a good day. His gaze inadvertently swept across the starry sky, and he discovered that one of the stars there was clearly much brighter than the last time he had observed it, but he did not know why. However, his attention was quickly attracted by a figure on the side. After a brief examination, he said in surprise, "Senior Sister Nian?" Nian Yuxian was actually here. Judging by her appearance, she seemed to be waiting for him. "Ready to move?" Nian Yuxian asked. Lu Yi nodded. "I'm a junior after all, and I can be considered half a host. It's not good to keep those seniors waiting. It's better to go early." "Senior Sister Nian, you're?" "I'm also from the Vanguard camp," Nian Yuxian explained. Lu Yi understood. With Nian Yuxian's strength, it was natural for her to be included in the Vanguard camp. "Then let's go together," Lu Yi invited. He led Nian Yuxian into the Tianji Hall, and through the teleportation array, they directly arrived near the fissure. The hundreds of cultivators at the 2 mountain passes were still loyal to their duties. They were already familiar with killing the insects that crawled out from the cracks in the ground. Most of the time, the insects would be slaughtered as soon as they appeared. It was still early. Apart from Lin Yu Xian, there were no other cultivators in the Divine Ocean realm. Lu Yi went up and waited Yuxian Yu Yang, and stood he stood and waited. The sky gradually brightened, and one after another, powerful auras flew over from different directions. The figures that landed were undoubtedly the members of the Vanguard Battalion that had come to assemble here. Yu sect, where Yu did not dare, Yu Mountain Yu, and in Yu they Yu. Lu Yi was secretly alarmed as he sensed the auras of the newcomers. Although it was known that there were crouching tigers and hidden dragons in the 9 provinces, and that there were endless masters, hearing about it was one thing, and seeing it with one's own eyes was another. Of the cultivators from the Vanguard camp who came to assemble, not a single one was below the 7th order. All of them were above the 7th order, and among them, the proportion of 9th order cultivators reached an astonishing 20%. Based on this momentum, the entire Vanguard Battalion had at least a few hundred members. Moreover, this was not the full strength of the War Province. It was impossible for all cultivators above the 7th order Divine Sea realm to enter the insect path. Whether it was Myriad Demons Ridge or Grand Heaven Alliance, they had to leave some people behind to maintain the stability of the War Province. If a single continent had such a background, what would the entire 9 continents be like? Lu Yi found something interesting. The masters who came to assemble were not clearly divided, nor were they at daggers drawn. Although many of them belonged to different camps, they were still chatting and laughing when they met. This was a rare sight for low-level cultivators. The lower a cultivator's cultivation base was, the easier it was for conflict to arise. On the other hand, the higher a cultivator's cultivation base was, the more they had seen and experienced. They were often able to talk and laugh freely. Lu Yi felt many scrutinizing gazes sweeping over him, intentionally or unintentionally. Among the Divine Sea realm cultivators present, his cultivation was the lowest, and he was the youngest. On the other hand, it was because of the news that spread. Now, everyone knew that the twin spirit-connected spirit array came from him. Everyone knew that he had entered the insect race's great sealed realm, and brought back extremely precious images. Even the insect race's refining method was contributed by him. It could be said that he had played a decisive role in promoting the 9 provinces' opportunity to counterattack the insect race's great sealed realm. In addition, he had reached the 4th order Divine Sea realm at such a young age. As long as one was not blind, they would realize that no matter how the 9 provinces changed in the future, he would be able to occupy a place. As far as the current situation was concerned, the entire 9 provinces owed him a debt of gratitude. Therefore, although there were many scrutinizing gazes, there was not much hostility. Even if they were wary of him, no one dared to show any hostility on such an occasion. Ha ha ha, I'm late. A hearty laugh sounded. Then, from the direction of Dark Moon Forest Pass, a figure swept over. Behind him were more than a dozen masters. City Lord. Many masters from Myriad Demon Ridge saluted. Even many cultivators from Grand Heaven Alliance cupped their fists and greeted him. Lu Yi recognized this person as Long Bo, the City Lord of Myriad Demon City in the War Province. His status was equivalent to Pang Zhen from Grand Heaven Alliance. Lu Yi had never seen this person before. However, last night, Long Bo led some Spirit Sea Realm cultivators from the Vanguard Battalion to rest in Dark Moon Forest Pass, and summoned his clone Li Tai Bai. As the most dazzling rising star of this generation of Myriad Demon Ridge, Li Tai Bai was naturally valued by the higher-ups of Myriad Demon City. Long Bo was also generous with his praise and reward for his clone. This gave Lu Yi a chance to learn more about this person. After exchanging some pleasantries, Long Bo turned to look at Lu Yi and laughed. "Little friend, you must be Lu Yi, right? You really have an extraordinary bearing." Lu Yi saluted. "Greetings, City Lord Long. Little friend, I know a lot of things about you. If there comes a day when you are not happy in Haotian Alliance, you are welcome to come to Myriad Devil Ridge at any time." As he spoke, he winked at Lu Yi with a meaningful look. Yu Huajin did not hesitate to betray Grand Heaven Alliance and borrow the power of Myriad Demon Ridge to kill Lu Yi. This incident happened in Dark Moon Forest Pass. As the city lord of Myriad Demon City, how could Longbow not know about it? It could even be said that all the decisions in this matter were made by him personally. He was also the one who ordered Lin Yu to warn Lu Yi, so that Lu Yi would be on guard. As soon as he said that, many people from Grand Heaven Alliance frowned. Although they knew it was impossible for Lu Yi to agree to such a thing, poaching someone in front of them was a little despicable. A voice came from afar. Don't spout nonsense if you don't know how to speak. Nobody will treat you as a mute. As soon as the voice was heard, a few figures had already landed in the field. They were Pang Zhen, the sect leader, and the others. Longbow laughed out loud. Old Pang, you're late. Pang Zhen nodded slightly. I had some matters to attend to, so I was slightly delayed. One of them was the city lord of Myriad Demon City, while the other was the deputy chief of Grand Heaven Alliance. Regardless of cultivation-based status or strength, they were all on the same level. They were also the leaders of the Vanguard Battalion's attack on the insect tribe's great secret realm. The two of them gathered and had a brief discussion. After a while, Pang Zhen said in a clear voice, the insect disaster has ravaged the 9 states for more than 3 years, causing the cultivators of the 9 states to be exhausted while the mortals have no way of making a living. Today, we are gathered here as the vanguard to kill our way into the insect path and counterattack the insect tribe's great secret realm. We have a long way to go, so we can't afford to make any mistakes. There's no need to mention the grudges of the past. Today there are no camps here. Let's work together to destroy the insect tribe. All of them were Spirit Sea Realm masters who had been cultivating for a long time. All of them were above the 7th order, so there was no need to mobilize too much before the battle. Everyone knew what they would face when they received the order, so Pang Zhen only said a few simple words. Next, they distributed the insect blood. Everyone received a jar, and Lu Yi received one as well. Wait for me here. After Nian Yuxian received her jar of insect blood, she flew into the distance in a flash. Not only her, but all the female cultivators did the same. The main reason was that smearing insect blood on one's body was a delicate job, so they couldn't miss a single inch. Under the watchful eyes of so many people, it was not easy for the female cultivators to do it. After the female cultivators left, the remaining male cultivators didn't hold back and did their own thing. After a short while, all of them were smeared green all over their bodies. Not even their hair was left out. After the time it takes to burn a stick of incense, everyone gathered again. Lu Yi looked up and saw figures with green skin. He felt that the scene was quite funny. Of course, in the eyes of outsiders, he definitely looked like a ghost. Let's go. Following Pang Zhen's low shout, he and Longbow took the lead and landed on the ground. The others followed closely behind. In an instant the scene became lively. Below the ground, the insects that were still climbing out were in for a bad time. Wherever the Spirit Sea Realm cultivators passed, not even a blade of grass was left behind. Lu Yi was mixed in the crowd with Nian Yuxian beside him, so he was bored out of his mind. With such a scene and such a lineup, there was no need for him to take action. What he needed to do was to wait for the people in front to capture some Spirit Sea Realm insects alive, and use some means to enslave them. The light above their heads gradually disappeared. Soon, everyone arrived at the entrance of the insect path. Pang Zhen and Longbow were still in the lead, and the others followed. Having experienced going deep into the insect path once, Lu Yi was not unfamiliar with it. The several hundred people moved like the wind, and in a short while, they all killed their way into the insect path. However, due to the limited size of the insect path, they couldn't advance side by side. The entire group formed a line that wasn't too long. Lu Ye's position was arranged to be closer to the front, mainly because he wanted to enslave the insects. If he was too far behind, it would be difficult for him to do so. Nian Yuxian should be responsible for his safety, so she was always by his side. Chapter 11:10. The Vanguard Battalion was invincible as they charged into the insect path. At this depth, the magnetic field's interference was very weak. It was almost negligible. With the addition of the insect's blood, it could block the magnetic field's corrosion. Naturally, it wouldn't affect the strength of the cultivators. With Longbow and Pang Zhen's strength, they could even kill an insect at the level of a giant insect. Not to mention, the insects they encountered along the way were all below the Divine Sea realm. The formation continued to advance. 90% of the Vanguard Battalion members seemed to have nothing to do. Only the group at the front had the chance to fight. But everyone knew that this was only temporary. The insect path was long. The deeper they went, the more restricted their cultivation would be. In addition, they had to preserve their strength, so it wasn't good to let Longbow and Pang Zhen stay at the front. After a certain period of time, someone would take their place and allow them to rest and recuperate. 2 hours later, a shout came from the front. "Where is Wuxia? I'm coming. Luya's figure flickered. When they came to the source of the sound, under the flickering light of the torch, they saw a burly physique cultivator pressing down on a mantis insect. No matter how the mantis insect struggled, it couldn't get rid of the physique cultivator's restraint. This was an insectoid at the Spirit Sea realm. It was also the first insectoid that the team had met so far. Luyi wanted to control the insect, so he couldn't choose a random target. He had to choose one at the Divine Sea realm. Only then could his plan be guaranteed. The Vanguard Battalion had probably found out about Luya's ability to control the Zerg through different channels. Therefore, when Luyi rushed over, many divine senses probed him from the front and back, wanting to know what kind of method he would use. Luyi raised his hand and touched the mantis insect's forehead. He sent a message to Nian Yuxian. "Senior Sister Nian, please use your Divine Soul attack. Quickly tear apart the insect's Divine Soul defense." Although he could do this himself, he didn't cultivate any Divine Soul secret arts. His Divine Soul wasn't as strong as Nian Yuxian's. It was more convenient for Nian Yuxian to tear apart the insect's Divine Soul defense. The Thought Moon Immortal immediately activated her spiritual power. The mantis bug was hit by the impact. It kept hissing and struggling even harder. However, it was held down by the Myriad Demon's Ridge Body Cultivator and could not resist at all. Luya's divine telekinesis surged. He could clearly sense that the insectoid in front of him did not have much resistance. He easily planted the soul manipulation divine sigil in its mind. The mantis insectoids instantly calmed down. The body cultivator sensed something and said in surprise, "It's all right now." Luyi nodded. "All right, fellow Taoist, please let it go." The body cultivator let go of the insect and found that it really did not resist. He was amazed. Amazing! Recultivators from the Beast Tamer school might be able to control the insectoids, but they could not do it so easily. Instead, it required a very complicated process. At the same time, there was a high chance of failure. But on Luya's side, it had only been a few breaths of time, and a Divine Sea Realm insectoid had actually been tamed. He did not understand how this was done. "Is this secret technique of yours useful to humans?" The body cultivator asked a very sensitive question. Luyi felt the ears of the people around him prick up. This kind of secret technique was strange and unpredictable. If it was useful to humans, it would be too terrifying. Luyi said, "The higher the intelligence, the stronger the soul power, and the harder it is to control. It's basically useless to humans, so it can only be used on these insectoids with defective intelligence. Actually, it is useful. Otherwise, Dao Shursan would not have been able to control it back then. But in this kind of environment, how could Luyi give an unsettling answer? He did not know if the body cultivator believed him or not. After a slight nod, he turned around and chased forward. Luyi and Thought Moon Immortal also followed, but there was an additional Divine Sea Realm mantis in the team. It bared its fangs and brandished its claws as it moved forward. As they pushed forward, Divine Sea Realm insectoids were constantly captured and enslaved by Luyi. 3 days later, there were dozens of insectoids in the team. They rumbled as they moved forward. Luyi sat on the back of an insectoid. Thought Moon Immortal sat on the back of another insectoid. The leisurely appearance of the two did not look like they were attacking the insect race's secret realm. Instead, it looked like they were going for an outing. which attracted the attention of many vanguard camp masters. Long Bo, Pang Zhen, and the others who were leading the charge had already been replaced. This had been done several times already. The coordination between cultivators was extremely tacit, especially when they were all cultivators above the 7th order. Sometimes there was no need for words. Just a simple exchange of glances or body language was enough for them to understand each other's thoughts. Now the ones taking the lead were the sect leader, and a few other body cultivators and weapon cultivators. At this depth, the suppression of the magnetic field on the cultivator's strength had become very obvious. However, because they had smeared insect blood in advance, it was still within an acceptable range. Lu Ye's position was always at the front, but not at the front. As they went deeper, the number of Divine Sea Realm insectoids in the team increased, but correspondingly, the speed of their advance slowed down. Of course, the deeper they went, the stronger the suppression of the magnetic force field. Naturally, they had to be more careful when advancing. Moreover, because they had to capture the Divine Sea Realm insectoids alive, it often took a lot of time. The vanguard battalions of the other 8 provinces did not have this problem. They only had one goal along the way, and that was to kill all the insectoids they encountered, and not leave a single one alive. Therefore, in terms of advancing speed, the Force Province was undoubtedly the slowest. This was verified by Pang Zhen, Long Bo, and the leaders of the other provinces. They encountered a few insects, and now they were all under Lu Ye's command. Agent. On the 8th day of entering the insect path, Pang Zhen suddenly rushed from the back of the team to Lu Ye's side and asked with concern, "Can you still resist?" Although Lu Ye's method of capturing the insectoids was amazing, in the eyes of ordinary people, it was impossible for such a method to be without limits. Logically speaking, every additional insectoid he captured would be a burden on Lu Ye's lightning speed. In particular, Lu Ye had said in the Great Council that the limit should be around 100 or 200 insectoids. Now, the number of Divine Sea Realm insectoids under his control had exceeded 200. That was why Pang Zhen asked. Lu Ye pondered for a moment and said, "It's about time. Although I can still control them, there's no need. More than 200 Divine Sea Realm insectoids are enough to carry out the next plan. More would just be icing on the cake." Pang Zhen nodded and ordered the front. "If we encounter any Divine Sea Realm insectoids again, there's no need to capture them alive. Kill without mercy." At this depth, everyone's strength had been suppressed to only 60%. Moreover, the continuous battles had consumed a lot of everyone's strength. If they encountered any more insects, it would be risky to capture them alive. Killing them directly would undoubtedly be more convenient and effective. One had to know that the counterattack on the insectoid's great secret realm was divided into 3 stages. The first stage was actually the easiest to achieve, and the most dangerous was the early stage of the second stage. The vanguard camp naturally had to preserve their strength as much as possible. The vanguard camp cultivators at the front received the order and advanced at a much faster speed. Another day later, there was a faint light in front of them. In an instant, everyone knew that the end of the insect path was approaching. The source of the light was where the door was. Sure enough, when the formation advanced to the source of the light, a huge oval-shaped door appeared in everyone's vision. The door was like a mirror. As the mirror rose and fell, insectoids continuously walked out of the door. Many cultivators looked at the door and understood that after stepping through the door, they would enter the insect race's great secret realm, which was the source of the insect disaster in the 9 provinces. The first step had been taken, and the next step was to see the progress of the second step. If everything went smoothly, they would be able to solve the disaster that had lasted for several years. "Rest here and recover your spiritual power," Longbow shouted, and ordered a few more people to guard in front of the door and kill any insects they saw. The 9 provinces needed to act together. Although the 9 vanguard camps were already in position in front of the 9 doors and could kill their way into the insect race's great secret realm at any time, the armies of the 9 provinces had not arrived yet. When the vanguard camp went deep into the insect path, teams from all over the 9 provinces had already gone deep through the cracks in the ground. They then gathered at different positions of the insect path and continued to advance. However, because the vanguard camp was clearing the way, the pressure they faced was much less. They only needed to deal with the scattered insectoids they encountered in the forks. Currently, the armies of the 9 provinces were trekking through the depths of the insect path. It could be said that the figures of the 9 provinces' cultivators could be seen everywhere in the insect path. They might be scattered in different forks, but they only had one ultimate goal. They could only wait for the armies to be in position before the vanguard camp could kill their way into the insect race's great secret realm. Otherwise, they would be powerless. Even if everyone in the vanguard camp was above the 7th order, it would be difficult for them to do anything. While the masters of the vanguard camp were resting, Lu Yi was busy. He needed to tie a certain amount of exploding fire spirit stones to all the insectoids he controlled. Otherwise, it would be difficult for the insectoids to cause a large-scale commotion. However, it was different with exploding fire spirit stones. These things were easy to explode and could cause powerful spiritual energy fluctuations. The insectoids were extremely sensitive to spiritual energy fluctuations. Once the exploding fire spirit stones exploded, it would definitely attract the insectoids' attention. Taking advantage of this opportunity, the vanguard camp could kill their way into the insect race's great secret realm and quickly build a defensive line. He was not the only one who was busy with this. There were others assisting him. They were all assigned in advance. Even so, it still took him nearly 2 hours to arrange everything properly. Selection. Lu Yi did a final check. After confirming that there were no omissions, he came to the sect master and Pangjin. Disciple is ready. Pangjin said. Then I'll leave the rest to you. However, you must be careful and prioritize your own safety. The sect master also exhorted. If things go wrong, retreat immediately. Disciple understands. Lu Yi nodded solemnly. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.